All right, ladies and gentlemen, and those who are neither, welcome to the stream. Here's the debate setup. Is it going to look bad? Let's find out. Oh, we're looking at it's all right. We're doing all right so far. Please forgive the amount of shit on the screen as I attempt to using my my shirt that blends in with my green screen. This is exciting. Good time. Can tell what's real and what's not. Anyway, we're here. We're gonna be watching some politics. I can't put the word debate in most of the in like anything because I'm scared it's gonna flag Twitch to be like, oh, this guy's cheating, kick him off the platform, take all his money. Oh, Montana, that sounds like a good time. Ooh, you can get it on the radio. Just listen to it. Oh no, you're here. You can't go to FC because you're gonna be stuck in Montana. All right, also understandable. I'm gonna see if I can get my friend Draggor in here or not. Let's find out. He wasn't feeling great earlier, but that may have changed. I don't know. He might be feeling better now, or at least good enough to be here for a couple of minutes. Let's see what happens, boys and girls. Oh, hi to M-Star, Nini Kiri. I saw Allie was here before. Trevor with a bunch of numbers. Blue Husky already said hi. Galois. Oh yeah, you're here specifically. Galois. Well, not here. You're there. You're at the CNN Go, or you're at the Iowa, which is exciting. I got the thing muted for the moment, so it doesn't jump in and scare the shit out of me. Maybe I do not have Draggor. In fact, oh, it'll be all right. I'll just leave this call going. He can answer whenever he feels like it. Oh gosh. Oh goodness. We've gone all crazy now. Let's fix the face cam. For some reason, when I do a Discord call, it just angers my other camera. Oh, the other program that wants to use my camera. There we go. We're back. I just gotta turn it off, back on again, then it works fine, like most things. Oh, sorry. I expect CNN to be doing something at this time I could commentate on. They got the hype man out there. Last I saw. We're pre-gaming a little bit.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I do hear you. Hello. I wonder if everyone else hears you.
That's a question. I don't even see video from you.
Oh, there you are. Oh, from me? Nah, it's because
I don't have to.
It angers my other camera. It's shiny. Thank you very much for the subscription. Fantastic. I appreciate that. If you guys want to make loud sounds during the debates, subscribe to me. It'll play a big long song.
Do
All right.
you have
How's
the
my
link
video
you're
going?
using, or is it just CNN.com?
CNN.gov. I mean, .com. Oh, my layout looks not the worst, but also the point of it is to clutter up the screen as much as possible. So in that aspect, I think we're doing well. And this time, the subtitles are on top. That's fun.
Ayo.
We're in Greenland at the moment. I should make that a little more green, actually. Let's see here. Doo-ba-doo-doo-doo. Game crap.
Let me, open Twitch.
Ooh, I gotta get a background on this. Text. Where is it? Oh, it's way at the top, isn't it? All right, drink it. I put a text thing called drinking rules, and I need to have like a background on it. Select font, color, opacity.
Thank you for
Following me. Thank you for following me, genuinely. I appreciate it. There we go. More black bars to cover up more stuff on the screen.
Oh, you did the color thing! Yay!
Oh,
They're
of
green
course.
People, they're my people.
Yeah, it'll change as I get bored. Don't worry about that, everybody.
Commie background.
I know. Look at me, and look at my shirt that is green. So most of it just goes right through. Here we go. Can I like? Here we go. I'm gonna try not show my tum on TV, but I want to cover my face. Can I do it? Let's see. Oh, I'm gone. I've disappeared. Where am I?
Wait, here. I'll give you a fun one. Fun with lights.
Oh, hello, Cryptocontra. What's going on? You want to watch the fun version of the debate? This is called the pregame, so I guess I need to pregame a little bit. Yes, I have been streaming for 16 months, OMG. And that means you've been subscribing to me for 16 months, which is crazy. It's kind of ridiculous. It's sad that the first replaces your pause. The pause were clearly the better option, and we've talked about this before, where it's like, thank you for the special thing, Twitch. Now can I have the pause back, please? Gonna be required. Gonna be a requirement. All right, let's try balancing our audio levels. Let's turn on the sound. Here we go. Unmute.
It's going to be a very important issue here.
It's plenty loud for me.
I hear you great.
Good, that's a good time. My goal here is to balance the debate sound, but it also has to be low enough that the censors, not censors, like the content ID thing can't tell what it is because we're talking too loudly over it. What do you guys think? I'm talking a bit. Can you hear this lady at all under me? Like, is it an okay balance? To me, I feel like it can go down a little bit even more, even. All right, there we are. That's pretty good. How's this going? Do you hear her at all? Is she too low? Super quiet compared to me? Awesome. I can definitely turn her up.
I actually think that, I'm sorry, I actually think that is the core of the Biden argument.
How about that? Is that a good time? Can you still hear me when I talk over it?
And therefore, I think these scrums with Bernie Sanders
like, that's fine with me. It's okay.
His part of his case is going to be, if you don't pick me, it could be him.
It's all right to not be able to hear them while I'm talking. That's kind of the goal.
Donald Trump because he's too far out on the left. By the same token, I think
capitalism created content ID, therefore content ID is bad. I mean, that's not the reason it's bad, but I do think it's dumb. I mean, I think all of copyright law is kind of like, as a person who creates copyrightable content, I think the copyright system is pretty fucked up right now.
I'm in software, so let me tell you, it only gets worse.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
music and movies freaking paradise compared to software right now.
A good time. All right, so how is Nini Curie says this is a good balance? All right, you guys agree it's a good balance? How about Draggor? You talk a bit.
Hello, I'm talking. I'm Draggor, and I look a little bit black and white compared to my war room background.
You know, weirdly, I think I got to turn you up a little bit.
I can turn up my gain too. Just tell me what
Oh,
to
excellent. Yeah, add a good 15 to 20% there.
It's a dial on the Yeti mic. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, just go up a little bit.
Alrighty, I have done the thing.
You could go up a bit more.
A little more?
Yeah.
Alrighty, I did a little bit more.
Now you sound the same level as me, actually.
Yay!
What do you guys think? Can you hear Draggor? Draggor up and TV people up a little bit. Okay.
They really care about education.
Part of the quietness of the TV is specifically so we don't get as in trouble, if we get in trouble at all.
Oh my gosh, I need.
But I do want you to be able to hear and enjoy the program. Let me turn up Discord a tiny bit.
Have the right judgment on Iraq, and that is what, of course,
the right
Obama
judgment.
used so successfully, as you know.
Oh, where is it? Yeah, go back.
You know, there were two candidates.
Like, they give me like individual. There it is. User volume. Let's put you back up to 100. Kind of nice. I appreciate Discord doing this. You're at 113% now. You have too much power.
And gaining momentum from Iowa, they've slipped out of.
All right, Draggor, talk for me for a sec.
Alrighty, I am talking for Pepper, and I am screwing around with my monitor and green screen setup.
You're definitely there now. Maybe a tiny bit, actually.
Many places for Democratic voters.
Let me turn mine down because I'm redwalling myself.
Oh yeah, if you're redlining, then that's my job to get you louder.
Yeah.
You know how it works. You've broadcasted in your life.
Testing.
Ali says much better. Great.
Alrighty. Yeah,
good times.
I'm still redwalling. Damn it.
Freaking
mice.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute this so we can not have to be talking constantly to not get in trouble from the C, the N, and the other N.
The C, the NN.
Yeah, the CN and N. I've covered their logos. I don't know. Apparently, the more you cover corners, that seems to be where they can like lock into what's going on. So if you got me over there,
it saying CNN and then like the upper right and upper left corners.
Yeah, but really like, what am I supposed to do? I can't get under the subtitles, and the subtitles are already there, fucking shit up, like looking different. I assume.
Like you could put a tiny Colin Mockery head over the CNN.
I guess. All right, fine.
It's your channel. I don't care if you get fucking
Discord
hammered again.
Send me a little picture to stick over the CNN logos.
Wait, I actually have a Colin Mockery. Hang on.
That's fine. I'll do that. I'll definitely do that.
A little dabble, do ya?
Look, Amstar, if you don't vote, you should vote, because it's like the only time you're allowed to express your political opinion in a way that cannot be ignored. Well, it can be ignored because the person with the most votes doesn't actually win. But you know what I mean. It's the best we got at the moment. It's the best we can do. Sound is good from the gentleman on the top. This is my friend Draggor. Oh, I could put a text over your name saying your name.
You can also, I sent my little icon if you want to like put a little
you already have an icon?
I sent it in the Discord chat.
Ooh, okay. I can use one of each of these. I'll use one for the one CNN, one for the other CNN. Here we go. Yeah, let's go ahead and save this. Save image preview. Yeah, okay. Desktop Colin up. Yeah, it's fine. I approve of this. Let's get down.
Blame Xander for that.
Yeah, save image preview. Oh, here's one. This one is now pretty.
Oh, it didn't do the transparent background. Fuck off.
Blue Husky, thank you for donating to the Bernie Sanders campaign. At this point, it's getting harder to not just be as full Bernie as possible, where Warren is still my second favorite, but she sure is very quickly sliding into being the worst. Not the worst, but doing disreputable things.
Let's recap for both our sakes.
This is happening a day. This is like within 24 hours, the shenanigans.
Is this the script thing?
Script thing? Probably not. What were you going to talk about?
The call center script thing that supposedly was from Bernie's campaign that got leaked. And then Warren sent out an email based on it without confirming the source.
Yeah.
Basically, if the script even did come from Bernie's camp, it's very good. Like, the worst thing it has to say about Warren is like, I feel I reach the common working class person better than Warren does.
Oh, how
Warren stands for everything I do. So
Warren's followers are mostly rich people.
Yeah, educated rich people.
Rich educated people. The funny thing is, I have a friend who lives in Boston. They're like, you know what? They're completely right. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, you have the experience. I don't not believe you. But yeah, like you said, they stand for a lot of the same things anyway. So there's like, I don't like them fighting over personal crap, which that's all it's gonna be. It's never gonna be about policy because no one cares about that. It's all like gotta be, oh, Bernie says that women can't be president. It's like, what?
Which is the exact opposite of what he's been saying for about as long as I've been alive.
He's on tape in the 80s saying, I could see a woman being president. And you're like, well, I mean, and the two other people in the room were like, yeah, he didn't say that. Of course he didn't say that. Does that sound like something he'd say?
Yeah. So
yeah, I got Colin Head. Oh, okay. Save him, that's fine. Colin Head, browse. Where's Colin? There he is. Open. You guys are going to see this happen in real time. Okay. Let's make Colin a little smaller here.
Oh, that is a giant head. Holy crap.
Yep, that's the default. There we go. Cover that. There we go. Where's my...
I should do a version of my War Room backdrop with us and various stupid heads photoshopped in.
Fighting in here. This is the War Room. Funniest line of cinematic history. Okay, image. One more. Let's do it. Draggor head. Browse.
Yeah, party imp. Woo! Bibbidi. My new ref sheet's getting closer to being done.
Okay, there you are. Oh, the other CNN logo's gone, so I'll just stick you over here for now. We'll use you for something. And now one final text. Okay. And you're just at Draggor?
At Draggor2K on Twitter. It's really unfortunate.
There's not
black and green Pittsburgh person got that on Twitter before I did.
Pittsburgh. Draggor 2K, no underscores or anything, right?
Nah.
2 G's.
Yes.
Bam. Okay, let's stick that over your burner so everyone knows who you are. And I'll stick that in the top because it's white text. Even better. Great. Now everyone knows. Nice. I have a bad habit of just sticking people on camera and be like, fucking no one knows who I am either. Who cares? But this is better. This is like best practices. This is a good thing to do. Should have left it over Draggor. Yeah, well. We'll just stick.
Nope, wrong side. Okay.
Stick that right on his fucking head.
Remember, it's
there he is.
Mirrored.
The part of Draggor will be played by Draggor today.
Dude, once I get a new suit, I'm getting back on stage and suit a whole bunch.
Good, that'll be fun. Yeah, it's been a little while.
Well, I just gotta pick and choose when my face should be covered or not.
Well, I know that before it helped with your anxiety over being on stage. And
Absolutely.
Now you seem to have not. I mean, no one fully gets past that, but it's lessened enough that you can get up there with your steampunk outfits and fancier top hat.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you, I
Shiny
feel like
small alkali.
the top hat holds power.
I believe it. The logo's back. Now I can properly stick you over it. Where is it? A little bigger.
Yeah,
There it
like
is.
before every Charity Who's line, to this day, I feel just about as stressed out about it as I did the first time.
Yeah, I mean that's probably not. It's good in a bad way. Where it gets you more geared up to do a better job, I think.
Yes, I will say I'm less distracted by it. Like once the show starts, I can much better focus on that messed up, on to the next one, instead of like getting hung up on it and introducing dead air.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen improvements as long as I've been around the act. It also helps that the audiences get bigger, which kind of like, I mean, that makes that kind of show.
Oh, absolutely. I am so lucky to be able to do what I do in this goofy fandom. I love it, love it, love it. Trevor and a bunch of numbers I'm not going to read off.
That's what
Kyle
I said.
Kalinske, Secular Talk is pretty cool.
I am not familiar with it.
You haven't checked out Secular Talk?
No, dude, there's so many YouTube channels. I don't think so. I don't think is that the person I'm thinking of? Is that the one we talked about? Where we couldn't decide, we're like, it's people who are just one step away from going actual left, and they're just like very reasonable liberals. Is that?
No, I think he's very left, but he does more political analyst stuff. So I think his personal beliefs are very left, but he talks about a lot of things through, okay, well, you have the Democratic Party as it is today. It's not as left as any of us.
All right, so definitely not who I'm thinking of. Definitely a different person. Alistair H2O, thank you very much for following. Guys, what are you pre-gaming with? I'm pre-gaming with grapefruit White Claw because I am now basic. I tasted White Claw and now I'm like, wow, this is actually great. I wanted to hate it. I heard like, oh, hard seltzer. That's going to be disgusting. And I tried it. I'm like, actually, this is great. This is like my favorite thing. It's just how much you like LaCroix, and I love LaCroix. Oh, Bernie's coming on. Everybody shut the fuck up. I mean...
Wait. Okay, I got 6 minutes. I have zero drinkitude. I'm going to go
you better
fix
get
that.
some drinks. You better do it.
Did Biden just whisper, like, you're going to hell, and then Bernie goes, secular Jew?
No, Biden's out there like, I mean, it helps his image of being just like, I'm just like a nice guy out here, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, you're a nice grandpa. So
Biden leans into Bernie. Hi, I'm Grandpa Joe.
He feels the need to talk to like everyone and just be overly handsy. Look at him. He's like, look how damn nice I am. I guess.
Oh, Biden. Everyone's like,
oh, Tom Steyer. Hey, man, what's up?
Look, I'm fascinated by him because every time he talks, he basically says what I want to hear.
I mean,
but he's a billionaire, which is wrong.
I'm never upset when he says, like, usually when he says things, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. For the most part. I mean, it's
like,
weird.
Is he exploiting the system, but for good?
Oh, did Klobuchar shake everyone's hand but Bernie? Or Bernie didn't go for the handshake either, so I don't know. He's just tired. This is now the whitest debate stage we've had. Oh yeah, Cory Booker dropped out. Like, he was the last one.
Somebody gave me some
who was it? Dave Chappelle, Xander.
Alistair
Xander the
suggested a
Blue.
rule.
Check out Xander on Twitter. He told me Dave Chappelle endorsed Yang.
Dave Chappelle endorsed Yang? All right.
Dave
I mean,
Chappelle is a curious creature these days.
All right. Whatever, man. That's fine, I guess. Do whatever you want.
I mean, like, I wish he'd punch down less at queer and trans folk, but, you know.
Yeah. All right. How do you spell ridiculous? R-E... Oh, God.
Just put a dick
R-I...
in the middle and then letters on either side, and you're good.
Ridiculous. Question
Allie got it.
from mods. Got it. Thank you. I can never spell ridiculous. I can't spell independent either. There's I's and E's all over the place. I don't know which is which. There's an A in there.
I always tried to spell existence with an A at the end, and then I'm like, wait, no, that's not how you spell existential.
Oh, I'm like, existenza?
Existenza, an existential musical stanza.
Existenza? Exicostanza. All right. Frubat, you don't have any drinks for this? Well, it is like a Tuesday, so I don't expect people to be drinking as much as us. But I'm sitting at home and I got Angry Orchards. I'm like, what do I do with this apple flavored Jim Beam? And I'm like, apple
Jim Beam. Oh,
someone brought it. I didn't buy it. I don't buy flavored alcohol. I tend to get just like regular, like just unflavored spirits, and then you put stuff in it to make it flavory. Like, because every once in a while you'll get a thing at your house, you'll be like cucumber gin, and you're like, what the fuck? Actually, no, cucumber gin doesn't make it gin any weirder. But like cucumber rum, and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna make like with jalapeno vodka? What can I put this in? Bloody Marys, and that's basically dirty martinis, and that's about it. So when I get like apple Jim Beam, what do you do with apple Jim Beam? You can put it in soda and just make it even sugarier, or you put it in cider and just make it boozier, which is a good time so far. Dang, only 6 people. That stage looks empty. I'm used to like, we gotta do it in like extreme Cine-vision to catch everyone to get a big enough horizontal strip. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's just 78 millimeter or whatever the fuck. The 3 extra guys. We're down to like 1 Jeb. I don't think we really have any Jebs. Well, I guess Stayer is kind of a Jeb, but he's more charismatic. So I don't know who's the Jeb anymore. Yeah. Klobuchar is the biggest Jeb we got, I guess. And
yeah, but she's quirky.
She's more interesting. Yeah, she's more interesting than
Jeb.
Even
endearingly Midwest quirky.
Just being a woman makes her more interesting than what King Jeb ever was. At least there's something to talk about.
It's a perspective you don't get on this level of national stage until very, very recently.
Klobuchar is the Bill Maher candidate, isn't she? Isn't Bill Maher like Klobuchar? Which isn't shocking.
I haven't followed Bill Maher in a long time.
Yeah, he's like a guy when you first discover anything close to leftism, you're like, Bill Maher's great, and then the more you listen, you're like, wait.
Well, it doesn't help that he's gotten
my label color
more steadfast as he went on.
It's red, now it's orange, now it's yellow, it's green. I have so many green objects in my room today. What's going on? The Klobu Jeb. Frubat, thank you for that. We're pretty much free of Jebs. We got like 5 real candidates and 1 rich guy having it's not even having fun. He's like a rich guy who wants to tell you like important news. But Stayer, I don't know what he's saying that someone else isn't on stage isn't saying. It's like, Stayer, just use all your money to get one of those other 5 people elected.
I can imagine, other than Bernie, he probably doesn't trust anyone else.
Stayer, I mean, that's
if I were to play,
that's the personality type that becomes a billionaire. Only I can do this mission. Which, I mean, frankly, everyone on stage thinks only I can fix America, which is pretty, like, there has to be something fundamentally wrong with you to think that in the first place.
Okay. Does Bernie actually believe that, or did he get fed up of watching election after election after election and went, it can't possibly be down to me? Oh, well.
I mean, he's one of the only people on stage who is like who has a unique perspective that no one else is offering. Like, there are things you get with Sanders that you absolutely do not get with any other candidate, except for Warren for a lot of stuff. But even then, those two are like, I don't know. How do people see them as the same candidate? Because I don't. But then I'm kind of in my own like Bernie bubble of people on Twitter who talk to me and already enjoy Sanders. So chat, tell us. Where do you see differences? Not, I'm not even asking for like a book report of these are the actual. Where do you perceive differences in them? Because that's kind of more important than reality, which is a fucked up thing to say. But what are the perceived differences between them? Furry viewership went up 3% due to Wolf. Due to what? Wolf Blitzer? Warren is the lib, Sanders light. I mean, that's kind of how I see her as well. It's like Bernie Sanders, but not quite as, not going as far as I want them to go. So I can sympathize with that. They're talking about fully automated luxury furry space communism. I mean, look, it's been established in Star Trek that they can just like basically body swap you into anything. So there's no reason they couldn't make you your persona in the future, in the Star Trek future. Real talk. Did you guys know griffins are a canon Star Trek creature? There's just griffins in the animated series. There's one shot where there's just like a griffin doing some stuff and he has a name and a planet and like a race. There's just griffin people. Just a bird guy. It was a fun time. Oh shit. Okay, here we go. The bait is starting. I need to unmute this.
For the first time in the modern history of this country,
they're asking, why does it have to be you?
Resolution working with a conservative Republican.
By the way, I'm talking over this a lot because I'm going to need to keep the audio detectors from shutting me down.
By Saudi Arabia was unconstitutional because
Plus, I like
Congress
talking
had
a
not
lot.
authorized it. We got a majority
Oh shit!
vote in
He's
the
talking about
Senate.
how we shouldn't
We
go
got
to
a
war
majority
already.
Vote in the House.
All right.
Unfortunately, Bush vetoed that, and that horrific war continues. I am able to work with Republicans. I am able to bring people together to try.
That's kind of true. I mean,
world.
That's, oh, God damn it! Ah, fuck! Come in,
Not
man.
through military efforts.
Vice
The mute
President
button.
Biden, you talk a lot about your experience, but some
He
of
can
your
work with
competitors
Democrats and Republicans,
have
but he
taken
doesn't just
issue with
give
that
in to all this
experience,
shit.
questioning your
I like.
judgment in voting to authorize the Iraq War. Why are you the best prepared person on this stage to be commander-in-chief?
I said 13 years ago it was a mistake to give the president the authority to go to war if, in fact, he couldn't get inspectors into Iraq to stop what thought to be
the inspectors.
the attempt to get a nuclear weapon.
The WMD.
It was a mistake, and I
Every time he says that, I want to cue up the Inspector Gadget theme.
Did you vote against it, Biden? Was he a senator at the time? I don't remember.
Once we were elected president,
Only one senator voted
he
against
turned
that
to
fucking
me
authorization.
and asked me to end that war. I know what it's like to
Pepper,
send
to
a
you
son or
and
daughter like
Xander, since he's been on here a whole
colleague
bunch,
has
and
gone
to
to
everyone
war in
watching,
Afghanistan, my
cheers
son for a
to
year in
the
Iraq.
last
And that's
debate
why
before
I
the
do it very, very
Iowa
reluctantly.
caucuses.
That's why I
Where
led the
shit
effort,
gets
as you know,
real.
Wolf, against surging tens of thousands of troops into
Oh, no.
Afghanistan.
I fucked
We should
up.
not send anyone anywhere unless the overwhelming vital interests of the United States are at stake. They were not at stake there. They were not at stake in Iraq.
Overwhelming vital
And it
interest,
was a
what's that
mistaken
mean?
Vote, but I think my record overall.
It means
on
when
every other
businesses
thing
tell me to
we've
go
done,
bomb
Yeah.
brown people, I'll do it.
I'm prepared.
There's oil, we gotta go.
Anybody's on the stage.
Senator Sanders,
American
you
companies gotta
have
go.
been attacking Vice President Biden's vote on the Iraq War, but you recently
Oh,
acknowledged
Algonquin, I agree.
that your vote to authorize the war in Afghanistan was also a mistake. So you've both acknowledged mistakes. Why should the American people trust your judgment more?
Well, it's a little bit of a difference. On that particular vote, every single member of the House, including myself, voted
Yep.
for it. Only Barbara Lee
Barbara
voted
Lee.
against it. But what I understood
Barbara Lee's an OG.
from right away in terms of
Somebody
the war
gave
in
me
Iraq,
some
the war in Iraq turned out to be the worst foreign policy blunder in the modern history of this country. As Joe well knows, we lost 4,500 brave troops. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis died. We have spent
I'm glad he
trillions of
acknowledges how many
dollars on
Iraqis
that
died. Thank you.
endless War, money which
Yeah,
should go
because,
into
They
treat 'em like they're not
education
people. Yeah, it's exactly.
and infrastructure in this country.
You might as well say
Joe
we killed
and
hundreds
I
of thousands of
listened to
ants.
what
Like, they
Dick
just don't seem to
Cheney
give a shit.
And George Bush and
Bernie
Rumsfeld
does.
had to say. I thought they were lying. I didn't believe them for a moment. I took to the floor. I did everything I could to prevent that war. Joe saw it differently.
Vice President Biden.
I was asked to bring 156,000 troops home from that war, which I did. I led that effort. It was a mistake.
Not
to
quite
trust
enough,
that they
dude.
weren't going to go to war. They
Still
said
there.
they were not going to go
Bring
to war.
back the dead. Let's
They
see.
said they
Let's
were
see you
just
pull
gonna
off
get
that fucking
inspectors.
miracle.
Bring back all
The
the.
world, in fact,
Well,
voted to send inspectors in, and
Okay.
they still went to
Not to
war.
minimize,
From
but-
that point on, I was in the position.
At
of
this
making
point,
the
it's
case
more
that it was
dangerous to be a
big,
lumberjack
big
than a
mistake.
soldier.
And from that point on, I moved to bring those troops home.
Really?
Senator Klobuchar,
Yes.
you publicly
Same thing with
questioned
cop.
Mayor Buttigieg's experience when it comes to
More
being
dangerous to be
commander-in-chief.
a lumberjack than a
Why
cop.
is your time as a U.S. senator
In terms
more
of deaths, at
valuable
least.
than his time
Is it more
as a US
dangerous to
naval
be
intelligence
trans than a
officer
lumberjack?
in Afghanistan and as
Ooh.
mayor?
Thank you, Wolf.
That's a
And
stat we
I've
gotta
been very
track.
clear that I respect the mayor's
Lumberjack v.
experience very
trans.
much in the military. I just
What if you're
have
a
different
trans lumberjack? You're like
experience. I've been in the
quintuple
U.S.
fucked.
Senate for over 12 years.
Black
and
trans
I think what you
lumberjack?
want in a
Oh.
president
Don't
is
go
someone
outside.
who has dealt with
Yeah,
these
just
life
never-
and death
That doesn't even
issues
stop
and
you. A
who
cop
has
will
made
mistake your
decisions.
house for theirs and
I
shoot
will
you in
look
it.
at my
You gotta build a
position
bunker.
on the Iraq War first. I wasn't in the Senate for that vote, but I
Biden for
opposed that
Necromancer
war from the
2020.
very beginning. In my first campaign for Senate, I ran against a Republican who ran ads against me on it, but I stood my ground. When I got to the Senate, I
Klobuchar's
pushed
hair
to bring our
quivers
troops
less and
home.
less every
Then I have
debate.
dealt with every issue from Afghanistan.
They're trying to find the magic
to keeping
formula,
our
and when
troops
she
with
doesn't get
good
the
healthcare
nomination,
after
she's going
what
to
we
come out with
saw
a new hair
with
product.
Walter Reed and being
Like,
part
hold
of an
that
effort
shit down.
to improve the situation
She's
for
like,
our
book
troops in a very
deals?
big
That's
way with
so
their education,
2016.
and with their
Hairspray
jobs,
deals.
and also
I'm becoming a beauty
with their
YouTuber.
healthcare. I think right
Well,
now what
what
we
is
should
it,
be talking about,
the
though, Wolf, is what
Beauty
is happening
magazine or
right
whatever
now
that keeps
with Donald Trump.
interviewing like Warren and
Donald
Sanders and all the
Trump
lefties?
is taking us pell-mell
About
toward
Teen
another
Vogue?
war. We have
Yeah,
a very
but they're doing
important
good
resolution. We just
interviews.
found out today
Teen
the
Vogue
four
is, like, really
Republicans
good
are
stuff.
joining
It's weird.
Democrats to
It's
go
really
to
strange.
him and say you must have an authorization.
I'm not going to
of
argue with
military
it.
force
I
if we're
find
gonna
it
go to
confusing,
war
but
with Iran.
Go for it.
Fuck,
That
if
is
that's
so
where
important because we
journalistic
have a
integrity is gonna be
situation where
found,
he got
sign
us
me the
out
fuck
of
up
the
and
Iranian
fix
nuclear
my
agreement,
complexion.
Something I worked on for a significant period of time. As president, I will get us back into that agreement. I will
Thank
take
you.
an oath to protect and
Oh,
defend
was it
our
Cosmo?
Constitution,
Thank you.
and I will mean it.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. We're going to continue talking about who's best prepared to be commander-in-chief, Mayor Buttigieg.
Teen Vogue
Well,
got the
I bring a
Iran coverage
different
better than
perspective.
CNN. Yep. Yeah,
There
not
are
shocked.
enlisted people that I served with.
You only say
barely
I
old
have
enough to
really good
remember
complexion
those votes
because you can't
on
see the
authorization
minefield of
after
blackheads
9/11
here.
on the war in Iraq. And there are people now old enough to enlist who were not alive.
All right, Pete,
for
you
some
were a
of those
soldier. What you going to
debates.
say?
The next president is going to be confronted with national security challenges different in scope and in kind from anything we've seen before.
That's
not just conventional military challenges, not just stateless terrorism, but cybersecurity challenges, climate security challenges, foreign interference in our elections. It's going to take a view to the future as well as the readiness to learn from the lessons of the past. And for me, those lessons of the past are personal.
Senator Warren, in our new
right.
CNN Des Moines Register poll,
Thank
almost
you
a
for those
third of
many
your
words you said,
supporters
Pete.
say your ability to lead the military is more of a weakness than a strength of yours. Why are you best prepared to be commander-in-chief?
I believe the principal job of the commander-in-chief is to keep America safe. And I think that's about judgment. I think it
Okay.
starts with knowing our military. I sit on the Senate Armed Services Committee. I work with our generals, with our military leaders, with our intelligence. But I also visit our troops. I visit our
Gotta
troops
talk and
around
fill
the
time to
world.
not
I've
get
been to
audio in trouble.
Afghanistan, to Iraq,
right.
to Jordan, to South Korea. I've been to lots of places.
Just
to
every
talk
few
with our
seconds, just
troops.
bop.
And I fight for our troops to make sure that they get their pay, that they get the housing and medical benefits that they've been
I hate
promised,
even
that they don't
questions
get
like
cheated
this because
by
they're
giant
nonsense.
financial institutions.
Like, you can't get up there and say,
Now,
like,
I
you
have
know, the
3
military,
brothers
I hate it.
who are in the military, and I know how much our military family
Well,
has
okay,
sacrificed.
go far
But I
enough
also
back,
know that we
and
have to think
genuine
about our defense in very
isolationist
different ways.
was
We have to think
a
about cyber. We have
viewpoint.
to think about climate. We also
How far
have to
back
think
do you have
about
to go
how
for
we
that?
spend
I'm
money.
failing my
We have a problem
World War
with
II.
a revolving door in
But-
Washington.
I thought there was post-World War
between the
II
defense industry and the
anti-interventional.
Department of
Yeah, but
Defense
not
and
like
the
as
Pentagon.
it
That
hasn't
is
been the
corruption,
majority in a
pure
while.
and simple. We need to block that revolving door, and we need to
Yeah.
cut our defense budget. We need to depend on all of our tools.
Yeah, after
Diplomatic,
appeasement
economic,
was
working
on the
with our
table,
allies,
that
and
kind
not
of
let the
killed
defense
that
industry
Yeah.
call the
platform.
shots.
Mr. Steyer, you worked in finance for decades and have never held elected office. Why should voters believe you have the experience or judgment to serve as commander-in-chief?
I worked internationally around the world for decades. I traveled.
Does Tom Steyer still look kind of upward while he answers all questions? Answer yes.
How America interacts with other countries. And you asked, what is the reason that the experience really counts? And to me,
I don't feel bad talking over him because he's not going to win. Warren, being a former Republican, I don't see as a weakness, actually, because like she knows how to talk to conservatives in a way that they respond to. So, if anything, that's... that might help her in the general.
She was a Republican.
Oh, it was a long time ago. It was a while.
Thank you
like around Nixon?
Experience named Barack
Oh, not that
Obama
fucking long, but like I think it's been at least it's been more than a decade.
Barbara Lee from Oakland, California, who stood up against the original.
I always
vote,
trot this out, and aside from like the bigotry and racism, if Nixon were to run today, he'd be a Democrat. Through and through.
Nixon, yeah, probably.
They are, is what we're looking for now.
You think a modern Republican would have founded the EPA?
We are spending dramatically too much money on defense. The money that we're spending there, we could spend in the other parts of the budget, and it's time for someone from the outside to have a strategic view.
Straight Tail's asking why a lot of people vote against their interest in elections. It's just it's always you get them with some other issue. Like some people are like, no matter what happens, I must be against abortion or against the gays or whatever. So that's part of it.
Religion and guns are pretty big.
ISIS emerged and spread terror across the Middle East.
I think of all of the lefty folk that I hang out with, I'm probably in the minority in that I wish, in general, the gun topic they ease off on, because that's right where they immediately lose people who would otherwise go for him. And that's why I like Bernie, because he knows how to speak to it.
Bernie's doing a thing right now.
The two great foreign policy disasters of our lifetimes were the war in Vietnam and the war in Iraq. Both of those wars were based on lies.
Yeah.
And right now, what I fear very much is we have a
you wanted an applause break there.
who is lying again and could drag us into a war that is even worse than the war in Iraq.
Say a big word, Bernie.
To answer your question, what we need to do is have an international
President Shithead
coalition.
is a symptom. The Republican Party has been on this path long before that
the nuclear
fuckhead
deal
ever
with
got
Iran
anything.
Was worked on with a number of our allies. We have got to undo what Trump did, bring that coalition together, and make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
Ted Cruz has been ruining American politics for a lot longer than Trump's been involved.
Get the
True.
nuclear agreement.
McConnell's been there for a really long time.
Bringing together the rest of the world, including some of the folks who aren't friendly to us. And it was working. It was working. It was being held tightly. There was no movement on the part of the Iranian government to get close to the nuclear weapon. And look what's happened. He went ahead, and it was predictable from the day he pulled out of that agreement.
The best way to make sure Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon is make sure they don't have any reason to want to use a nuclear weapon.
We're making a comparison between the United States and
when
Iran,
a foreign country can just decide to bomb one of your top tier and seemingly beloved people, you kind of want a nuke to combat that, don't you?
I mean, yeah. Say what you want. The only reason frickin' Pakistan exists as a country is because they got a nuke. That's why India can't take them out. It's like, sorry, we got a nuke, baby. Can't fucking do anything.
We can get done.
So just to be clear, Vice President Biden, would you leave troops in the Middle East or would you pull them out?
I would leave troops in the Middle East in terms of patrolling the Gulf, where we have to, where we are
oil,
now,
where we have oil, Biden.
Troops.
Where we have oil, you almost said it.
To pull out the small number of troops.
Small areas to patrol where we have refineries.
What's happened is now that he's gone ahead,
he should say we're going to refine our deployments.
We're going to refine our crude materials into a more usable.
Americans have to leave the entire region. And quite frankly, I think he's flat out lied about saying the reason he went after.
Call Biden the Tin Man because he needs oil.
Thanks, Costa. Appreciate that. About to be bombed.
Senator Klobuchar, what's your response?
I would leave some troops there, but not in the level that Donald Trump is taking us right now. Afghanistan, I have long wanted to bring our troops home. I would do that. Some would remain for counterterrorism and training. In Syria, I would not have removed the 150 troops from the border with Turkey. I think that was a mistake. I think it made
we eventually got to get our
and
troops
many
out of these
others much
places,
more vulnerable to ISIS. And then when it comes to Iraq, right now, I would leave our troops there, despite the mess that has been created by Donald Trump. At the briefing we had last week, I was the only person on this stage that asked a question.
Do I think we should be the world's police by ourselves? No, that's like.
And I asked them about imminent threat, but I also
countries coming
asked
together
them
should do.
what
But
their
you can work
pulling out would mean slaughter of innocent
answers.
people.
I asked them, where is
We're
the
already
surge of
there,
diplomacy
so like
that we would be seeing if
I don't know. I kind of just
Just
don't
leave
want
like-
people to die.
Just leave like 5 guys there. It's like, look, can't attack us. There's an American there.
Oh, it's kind of like the
only reason we're there is so because if Turkey attacks an American, it's like, what the fuck, Turkey? But if they kill a bunch of Syrians, no one gives a shit.
Leave combat
It's the only
troops,
reason you gotta
at
leave
least
them there.
some combat troops
I
in the
hate
Middle
that
East.
that's a
One
valid
old
tactic.
diplomat. Let's just call a couple of diplomats over there, Americans. Be like, look, if you kill them, we're gonna be real mad. So calm down, Turkey Jesus.
Our military is the finest
Turkey
military on
Jesus.
earth, and they
Heard
will
it here
take
first,
any
folks.
sacrifice we ask them to take. But
He
we
gobbles
should
your
stop
sins.
asking our military to solve problems that cannot
Thank
be
you
solved
for following
militarily.
me.
Our keeping combat troops there
Thank you
is
for
not
following, Crazy
helping.
Yellow Fox.
We need to work with our allies. We need to use our economic tools.
Hey, look at this.
We need to use our
Warren's
diplomatic
like,
tools.
we
Now,
can
look,
use
I
things that aren't
understand.
guns.
There are people on this stage, when it comes to
Or
Afghanistan,
airstrikes.
for example, who talk about 5 more years,
my left
10
eye
more
is
years.
just constantly
Shoot, Lindsey
leaking.
Graham talks about leaving troops there for 100 more years. No one has a solution and an
Yeah, there's no
end point.
exit. There's
We
no
need to
end.
get our combat troops
I mean,
out.
they're saying
They
those
are
long
not
time
helping
spans 'cause they're
create
planning
more
on the
safety for
rapture?
United States or the region.
Vice President Biden is Senator
To a
Warren
degree.
right.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That's
there's
not
difference
even a
between
joke.
Combat troops and leaving special forces.
Oh, yeah,
There
I
are
believe
people
you.
in
I
power
was
that
part of
think
the
it.
coalition to put together 68 countries to deal with stateless terror.
Ah,
as
the
well as
coalition of the
failed
willing.
states. Not us alone.
Remember that.
68 other countries.
Sent a bunch
That's
of
how
monkeys.
we were able to defeat and end
Just
the caliphate.
blow up
for ISIS.
landmines.
They'll come back if we do not deal
Yeah,
with them. and
but
we do
depending
not
on who's
have
in
someone who
charge,
can
that
bring
might be
together the
literal
rest
or
of the world
metaphorical, and if
to
it's
go
metaphorical,
with
then
us
it's really
with
fucking
small
racist.
numbers of special forces
No,
we have
literal ones.
to
That was a George
organize
Bush
the
thing that
effort
actually
to take
happened.
them down.
Really?
Mayor Buttigieg, you served
I
in
thought
the
it was
White
just a
House.
racist
Right.
thing.
I don't remember what
We
country,
can
but they were like, yo, we got a bunch of
continue
apes that'll
to
run over
remain
landmines
engaged
for you.
without having an endless
It
commitment
really
to
definitely
ground
happened
troops.
after
But what's going on
9/11.
right now is the president's actually sending
Literal
more.
monkeys.
The very president who said he was going to end endless war, who pretended to have been against the war in Iraq all along.
Oh, here we
We
go.
know that's not true. Now has more troops going to the Middle East. And whenever I see that happen, I think about the day we shipped out and the time that was set aside for saying goodbye to
Fuck,
family
Pete, you were like
members. I remember
15 when 9/11
walking
happened.
with a friend of mine, another lieutenant I trained with, as we walked
God,
away.
is he my
and his
age?
1.5-year-old
like
boy was
40.
toddling after him,
Okay,
not
he's-
understanding why his father wasn't turning back to scoop
You
him
got to
up.
be 35. I
And
mean,
it took all the strength he had not to turn around.
I'm only
and
a
look
year
at his
away
boy
from
one
that.
more time.
yeah, we run for president.
That is happening by
All right,
the
a year and a month
thousands
away.
right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, 'cause that's a level
as
of
we
stress
see
I
so
want.
many more troops sent into harm's way. And my perspective is to ensure that that will never happen when there is an alternative.
I
as
sweat
Commander-in-Chief.
bullets
Senator
being
Sanders.
responsible for a convention
Okay.
of 1,200
America
people.
today, our
Here comes Sanders.
infrastructure is crumbling. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 87 million people have no health care or are underinsured. We got 500,000 people sleeping out on the streets tonight. The American people are sick and tired of endless wars, which have cost us trillions of dollars. Our job
Could
is
have just
to
stopped
rebuild
at sick
the
and
United
tired and gone
Nations,
into Medicare
rebuild
for All.
the State Department, make sure that we have
trying to stay
the
on topic. I
capability
appreciate
of
that.
bringing the world together to resolve international conflict diplomatically and stop
Oh.
the endless wars.
You got to
that we have
negotiate out of
We're
this
going to
shit.
get to everyone, but Vice President Biden, you criticize President Trump's decision to kill the Iranian General Soleimani without first
Man, we are
going to
flying with
Congress.
questions. We're just
Are
going.
there any circumstances other than a direct attack on the United States where you would take military action without congressional approval?
I ran the
No.
first time as
Just
a
say no.
29-year-old kid against the war in Vietnam on the grounds that only way to take a nation to war is with the informed consent of the American
That's
people.
way too many
The
words for what
informed
should have been
consent of
no.
the American people. And with
Shiny,
regard
we're
to
sick and
this
tired of
idea
being
that
sick
we
and
can walk
tired.
away and not have any troops anywhere, including special forces.
Yeah,
We-
the questions have been
there's
fine
no
so
way
far.
you
They've-
negotiate-
nothing too stupid.
Been able to negotiate with terrorists. You have to be able to form coalitions to be able to defeat them or contain them. If you don't,
See,
we end
this
up
whole
being the
thing of
world's
like,
policeman again.
terrorist
They're gonna
is so
come to us.
dehumanizing, and I
They
get
come
that's
to
the
us
point,
before, they'll
but
come
like,
to us again. So it's a fundamental difference than negotiating.
Why
with
is it
other
so wrong
countries.
for us
It's
to admit that a
fundamentally
lot
the
of this is rooted
requirement
out
that
of
we
the
use our special forces in
This
small
illogical,
There's a reason
it's
it's
not
called
based-
World War
Coordinate with other
II. There was a lot of
countries,
groundwork that
other
went into that.
Mr. Vice President, just to be clear, the Obama-Biden administration did not ask Congress for permission multiple
crap, what the fuck
times
is
when
Biden
it
talking
took military action. So would the Biden doctrine be different?
No, there was the authorization for the use of military force that was passed by the United States Congress, House and Senate, and signed by the President. That was the authority. It does not give authority to go into Iran. It gave
This is
authority
like
to deal
every
with these
war
other
question to
Mayor
Biden is
That
like
authorization
going for the
needs to be replaced.
technically correct answer.
right.
Look,
Yeah,
when-
because
when
well,
we
you can't
lost
say
troops in
no
Niger,
war
there were
ever
members of Congress
because
who
they do
admitted
still want to
they
do
didn't
some
even know we had
wars.
troops there. And it was all pursuant to an authorization that was passed to deal with Al-Qaeda and
Right.
9/11. And often Congress has been all too happy to leave aside its role. Now, thanks to Democrats in Congress, that's changing. But the reality is, year after year, Congress didn't want to touch this either because it was so politically difficult. Fundamental truth is, if our troops can summon the courage to go overseas into harm's way, often on deployment after deployment, then we've got to make sure that Congress has the courage to take tough up or down votes
got
on
to
whether
try
they
a
ought
little
to be there. And when
tenderness.
I am president, anytime,
Got
which
to
I
got
hope
to
will
try a
never
little
happen,
diplomacy.
but anytime I'm compelled to use force and seek that authorization, we will have a 3-year sunset so that the American people are included not
Thank
only
you.
in the decision about whether to send troops, but whether to continue.
Thank you. Senator Warren, we're going to get to everyone, but Senator Warren, what about you? Are there any circumstances other than a direct attack on the United States where you would take military action?
Just say no. Please
without
just say no and
congressional
stop.
approval?
It'll be great.
Well, imminent threat, but we need an authorization for the use of military force before we take this nation into combat. That is what the Constitution provides, and that's what as
specific and
Commander-in-Chief
limited
I will do.
use of
But I just
force,
want to
maybe.
be clear. Everyone on this stage talks about nobody wants endless war. But the question is, when and how do you plan to get out of it? You know, on Senate Armed Services Committee, we have one general after another in Afghanistan who comes in and says, you know, we've just
Hi, Avocado
turned
Fox.
the
Welcome
corner. And now it's all going to be different. And then what happens? It's all the same for another year. Someone new
That's
comes
not
in, and
change.
we've just
That's
turned
more
the
of the
corner.
same.
We've turned the corner so many times, we're going in circles in these regions. This has got to stop. It's not enough to say someday
I'm gonna drink for that.
we're going to
I
get
like
out.
that. That's
a good line.
No one on the ground, none of our military can describe what the conditions are for getting out. It's time to get our combat troops home.
Mr. Steyer, would a President Steyer use military force as a deterrent? And if
Steyer,
not,
you still here?
under what circumstances would you take military action?
I would take military action to protect the lives and safety of American citizens. But
All
what
right,
we
what's that
can
mean,
see
Steyer?
in the Middle East and
Lives
what
of
this
American citizens,
conversation
what's that mean?
shows is that there is no real strategy that we're trying to accomplish in what we're doing in the Middle East. Obviously, Mr. Trump has no strategy.
Stair looks like a
He
guy
is
who's like
going
trying to find a
from
fly
crisis
buzzing around
to
him at all
crisis,
times.
From escalation to escalation. But if you look further over the last 20 years, including in the war in Afghanistan, we know from the Washington Post that in fact
I like the
there was
blue.
no
It's like
strategy.
the
There was just a
original
series
Star
of
Trek
tactical
base with the
decisions that
antennas.
made no sense. So we really have to ask ourselves in the Middle East, what are we
I saw
trying
them
to
first in
accomplish?
Discovery,
I agree
weirdly
with
enough.
Vice President Biden. To do it, we should definitely be doing it.
Oh,
in
that's right. They
coalition
were
with other
brought back
countries.
there.
And I
And
wanna
Jeffrey
point out
Combs
that
played one
as
in
we do
Enterprise,
that,
I think.
Yeah, it was like one in Discovery.
which everyone's talking about. But at the same time,
He isn't even staring
there's a
directly at the
gigantic
camera. He's staring
climate
slightly
issue
above
in
the camera
Australia,
straight to, which is funny.
Also
Keep changing the
requires
colors. All right, I'll do a
same
couple
kind
more.
of value-driven coalition building that we actually should be using in the Middle East. We need to ask ourselves, how are we going to provide a
God,
world
I
that is
feel like I'm in a
safer for
fucking
Americans?
bullshit. Value-driven
More
coalition
every
building.
single thing we do should follow
What does
that
that mean,
structure, and it's just
Tom?
not happening in Washington,
Synergy.
Synergy.
Another critical issue you'd face
We have to
as president is the
synergize
threat
our
of nuclear
alignment
weapons.
to get the
Last
maximum
week,
value out of our
President Trump said,
coalition.
quote, as long as I'm president of the United States,
I'm gonna go throw up
Iran
after
will
saying
never
that.
be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Would a President Buttigieg make that
My
same
God, I've made
Ensuring
everyone's
that Iran
lips
does not develop nuclear weapons
ridiculous.
will, of course, be
Keep it like
priority
this.
because it's such an important part.
This is
of
the
keeping
Avatar
America
sequel
safe.
I want.
But unfortunately, President Trump has made it much harder
Pete
for the
Booty.
next president to achieve that goal. By gutting
Never knew your
the
bottom
Iran
lip was so
nuclear deal,
robust
one that,
until
by
now.
The way, the Trump administration itself admitted was working, certified.
I can't
that
even
it was
listen. I'm
preventing
staring at it.
progress toward a nuclear Iran. By gutting that, they have made the region more dangerous and set off the chain of events that we're now dealing with as it escalates even closer.
Pepper, did you ever
to the brink
see?
of outright war. Now, yes.
Thank you
In
for
order to get
following me.
Tom Hanks,
Philip
the
Seymour
Iran nuclear
Hoffman,
deal, the technical term
movie
for
about
it is
Afghanistan.
the JCPOA. That first letter J stood for joint. We can't do this alone, even less so now, after everything that has happened. Which is why it will be so critically important to engage leaders, including a lot of new leaders emerging around the world, and ensure that we have the alliances we need to meet what I believe is not just an American goal, but a widely shared goal around the world to ensure that Iran does not become a nuclear-armed country.
Charlie Wilson's war.
Mayor Buttigieg, to be clear, would you allow Iran to become a nuclear power? Yes
Oh.
or no?
No. That's our
Can we get someone else on camera to see their lips? That's all I want.
ensuring that Iran does not become nuclear. And by the way, we've got a lot of other
I
challenges
really
with
like that
nuclear
orange
proliferation
on the
around
suit.
the world. Despite this
yeah, absolutely.
president's coziness with Vladimir Putin, we actually
figured out how to make
seem
brown.
further away from being able to work with Russia.
This tie is just on
things like the
fire.
renewal of
Oh, this
START.
looks like a heat
We've
map.
got to move
He has
toward
he's
less,
cold-blooded,
not
but has a
more
hot
nuclear
suit.
danger, whether it is from states, from stateless potential terrorist actors,
Thank you, Mayor
or
Buttigieg.
anywhere else around the world.
Thank you, Mayor Buttigieg. Senator
Thank you, Booty.
Klobuchar, if you become president, it's very
Yeah,
possible
soup
there won't
pops.
be an Iran
That's right.
nuclear deal for the United States to rejoin.
Oh,
Given
shit.
that, how would you prevent Iran
Oh, no. Klobuchar, I'm sorry.
I would start
I'm
negotiations
sorry, I
again,
did this to
and
you.
I won't take that as a given that our European partners are still trying to
that's
hold
not
the
a good look.
agreement together. My issue is that because of
All
the
right, let's find her
actions of
color.
Donald Trump,
This is
we are in a
like
situation where
removing
they are now
the illusion
starting-
veil
Iran is starting
and
to
showing the true
enrich
lich underneath.
uranium again in violation of the original
Here we are.
agreement.
That's better.
So what I would do is negotiate. I would bring people together, just as President Obama did years ago, and I think that we can get this done. But you have to have a president that sees this as a #1 goal. And in answer to the original question you asked the mayor, I would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And then you have to get an agreement in place. I think there are changes you can make to the agreement, better sunset, some changes to the inspections. But overall, that is
Just
what
make
we
her
should
all
do.
the same
and I
color.
am the one person on this debate stage on the first night of the very first debate when we were asked what we saw as the biggest threat to our world. I said China on the economy, but I said Iran because of Donald Trump, because I feared that exactly what happened would happen.
Come on, Bernie.
Enrichment of
Give it to
uranium,
Bernie and go, no, the
escalation of
biggest threat
tension,
is the climate,
leaving
and it's going to
frayed
kill us
relations
all.
with our allies. We can bring them back, understanding this is a terrorist regime that we cannot allow to have a nuclear weapon.
Vice President Biden, I want to ask you about North Korea. President Trump has met with Kim Jong-un 3 times. President Obama once said he would meet with North Korea without
I know
any
we're doing a lot of foreign policy stuff,
Will
but
you
like,
meet with North
guys.
Korea without any preconditions?
No.
It's
not
before the
now.
well,
We'll
they're
meet
doing
with
it
This is-
because
look, well, we gave him everything he's looking for.
the foreign
Legitimacy.
policy stuff
The
is
president
what's going
showed
to
up, met
undercut
with
Sanders
him,
and
gave him
Warren
legitimacy,
more than anyone else.
weakened the sanctions
guess,
we have
but, like-
against
If
him.
I'm doing
I would be
tinfoil
putting
hat,
what
the
I did
primary's
as
coming, and
vice
Bernie
president. I
and
met with
Warren
Xi Jinping more
are
than anyone else. I would be putting
doing really
pressure
well.
on China to put
I don't want to
pressure
say
on
who cares,
Korea
but it's like
to cease and desist from their nuclear power, make their efforts to deal with nuclear weapons. I would move forward.
I mean, it's
as we
early
did
on,
before,
so
and you
they'll
reported
get to stuff,
extensively,
I hope.
Wolf, about moving
countries
forward
where
the
like people
whole
aren't
notion
dying of poverty all the time.
defense against
You
For some
do
reason,
realize you
don't
just
like to do
accidentally
crazy
dropped
shit.
a
When
C-bomb,
China
right?
said to me, when
Who?
Xi Jinping said
Me?
to me,
You.
that's a
I didn't
threat
say
to us,
any
I said,
C-bombs.
"We're gonna move
You
and
just
protect our
stammered
interests unless
saying
you get
countries.
involved and protect it."
Oh,
I would
sorry.
reunite the relationship between Japan and
That was
South
so
Korea,
unintentional, I didn't notice
and
I did
would
it.
put enormous pressure.
I'm like,
Apologize to everyone.
Enormous pressure on China because
Did
that's
not mean
also
to
in their
call anyone a
interest
cunt.
for them to put pressure on North Korea to cease and desist. But I would not meet with, absent preconditions, I would not meet with the, quote, supreme leader who said, Joe Biden is a rabid dog. He should be beaten to death with a stick. I count that.
Other than that, you like him.
Other than that, I like him. And he
All right,
and
finally,
he got a love
wake
letter
up.
from
I'm
Trump
waking
right
up.
after that.
Mr. Steyer, would you meet with North Korea without any preconditions?
Biden fucking hates
clear
it when people like
If we're going to
knock
do
him off
something with
script
North
even a
Korea,
tiny
we're gonna
bit.
have to do it in concert
mad he
with
is.
our allies. That meeting with him without preconditions is not going anywhere. That the staff can meet to try and
Guys,
see how far
we
can
can't
get.
really do
But this
anything
is a
to affect
classic
North Korea,
situation
all
where
right?
the United States
There's
idea
nothing we're
of
doing
going
or
it
not
alone
doing. It doesn't
makes no
fucking
sense.
matter. It's
And
They're
when
gonna
we
do
were
whatever they
talking
want.
about Iran, let's face it, Iran is under great pressure economically.
Until relations
So every
with
single discussion we've had
China
about
are
Iran
in
has
such a
had to do
way
with
where
military
it's
Yeah,
power
China can
and
influence
America
them. We
versus
fucking
Iran.
can't.
Whereas in fact, what worked
When China
with
gets fed
President
up with them,
Obama
that's when they'll
was
stop.
a
Like, they're going to nuke us
alliance
because
of
China will be like, oh,
our
fuck,
allies and
guys,
us
you can't.
putting
they
economic
don't-
pressure on them for them to give up their military.
The only
tactics.
kind of what
That,
if
to
I've
me,
had
is called strategy.
it does seem to
Having
be
a
the
goal
power
to make
structure in that
America
country is
safer
very, very,
by
very
looking
concentrated
more
to a
broadly
select few.
than
So
just
what
us
happens
as
if
the
it's
policemen of the world spending
just
money?
tactically taken
Let's
out?
stay
I
with
don't
the
endorse
theme of
it.
America's
Like
role in the
15
world and
people.
what about
Thought.
trade? Tomorrow, President Trump is expected
they're all trying to
sign
kill each other. It's
phase
like Game
one
of
a
Thrones.
trade
Oh, she
agreement
got
with
some
China,
lips too. Look
and
at
the
this.
Senate will likely soon approve a new trade deal with Mexico and Canada, Iowa's largest trading partners. Senator Sanders, you have said that new deal, the USMCA, quote, makes some modest improvements, yet you're going to vote against it. Aren't modest improvements better than no improvements
No,
for
we
the
could do
farmers and
much-
manufacturers who have been devastated
No.
here in Iowa?
We could do
The
much
answer is
better.
we could do much better than a Trump-led trade deal. This deal, and I think the proponents of it acknowledge, will result in the continuation of the loss of hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs as a result of outsourcing. The heart and soul of our disaster trade agreements, and I'm the guy who voted against NAFTA and against permanent normal trade relations with China, is that we have forced American workers to
Straight
compete
to-
against people in Mexico, in China, elsewhere, who earn starvation wages, $1 or $2 an hour. Second of all,
Straight tell, I agree. Stayer does look like a
every
TV or
major
movie president, yes.
environmental organization has said no to this
Oh
new
God,
trade
like
agreement
a D-list
because
movie.
it does not even
Well,
have
God,
the
he's like,
phrase
if they cut from for
climate
2 seconds in a
change
Jason
in it.
Bourne movie, you'd
And
believe him.
given
You're like,
the
yeah,
fact
sure, that's the
that
president,
climate
whatever.
change is right now
No, I was thinking
the
more like
greatest
from the
threat
80s or whatever.
facing
He's the
this planet.
president that
I will
survived in the
not
day
vote for a
after.
trade agreement that does not incorporate very, very strong.
He's who I would
principles
envision would come on
to
screen and
significantly
go,
lower
there was a nuclear
fossil fuel
disaster, the world
emissions,
is over,
in the
good night.
But Senator Sanders, to be
But,
clear,
like, in the most robotic, cold way
AFL-CIO
possible.
supports this deal. Are you unwilling to compromise?
The AFL-CIO does, the Machinists Union does not, and every environmental organization in this country, including the Sunrise Organization, who are supporting my candidacy, opposes it. So I happen to believe, and I hope we will talk about climate change in a moment.
Ooh, good answer.
If we do
Because that
not
was a
get our
fuck you
act
question
together
they
in
asked.
terms of
Yep.
climate change,
He knows how to zip. He's
the
been doing this a
planet
while.
that we're going to be
He'll be
leaving
all
our
right.
kids and our children and our grandchildren
Can't catch
will
Bernie.
be increasingly
Ah, look at that
unlivable
scurvy.
We're going to
and
get to climate
uninhabitable.
change,
Yeah.
but I'd like to stay
Or,
on
no,
trade.
jaundice.
Senator
Well,
Warren.
they are the same in this issue.
Senator Warren.
Jaundice
you
is the yellow
support
one, right?
USMCA. Why is Senator Sanders
Warren.
wrong?
Warren
I
looks
do.
kind
I
of
wasn't
beautiful
here.
on the
I've
screen.
been in Congress long enough to have voted against NAFTA, but I led the fight against
She could
the
be
trade
another
deal with
Star
Asia
Trek
and
alien.
the trade deal with Europe because I didn't think it was in the interests of the American people, the American workers, or environmental interests. But we have farmers here in Iowa who are hurting, and they are hurting because of Donald Trump's initiated trade wars. We have workers who are hurting because the agreements that have already been cut really don't have enforcement on workers' rights. This new trade deal is a modest improvement. Senator Sanders himself has said so. It will give some relief to our farmers. It will give some relief to our workers. I believe we accept that relief. We try to help the people who need help, and we get up the next day and fight for a better trade deal. We need a coherent trade policy. We need a policy that actually helps our workers, our farmers.
Thank you
we
for
need the
following
not just a
me.
trade policy written for big international companies. I'm ready to have that fight, but let's help the people
Thank
who
you.
need
Senator
help right
Sanders,
now.
can you please respond to Senator Warren?
Well, I think that it is not so easy to put together new trade legislation. If this is passed, I think it will set us back a number of years. Senator Warren is right in saying we need to bring the stakeholders to the table. It is the family farmers here in Iowa and in Vermont and around the country. That is the environmental community. That is the workers. Bottom line here is I am sick and tired of trade agreements negotiated by the CEOs of large corporations
Senator Klobuchar,
behind
I'd like
doors.
to bring you in here.
Brienne, I want to hit reality.
He didn't even get to
serve on
finish
the
a sentence.
Agriculture
Come on.
Committee. And
They
I
cut him
will
off
never
because he
forget
wasn't
going to
attacking Warren.
Crawfordsville here in Iowa, and thank you for bringing up Iowa, Brianne, since that is where we
That's
are.
the real answer.
And
How come
I
the
went
people
to
who
this
are not
plant, and
involved
there
in these
was
trade
one worker
negotiations,
left
the
in
people
that plant.
actually affected
That
by
plant
these
had
trade
been shut down
negotiations?
because of Donald Trump's trade policies and because of what
Yeah,
he had
Trump
done
bad, and we
to
got it,
those
Klobuchar.
workers
Thank
with
you very
giving
much.
secret
Next
waivers
candidate,
to oil
please.
companies and ruining the renewable fuel standard. That worker brought out a coat rack of uniforms, and he said,
we need
"These
to
are my
revive,
friends. They don't work here anymore." And their names were
gosh.
embroidered on those uniforms.
Phil
Derek,
Hartman.
Mark,
Ugh.
Salvador.
Trump
And that
bad.
started
Trump
to
bad.
cry. These are
Klobuchar,
real
what do you think?
people hurt by
Trump.
Donald
Okay, thank
Trump's
you.
trade war.
Nah.
So what we should do, and I support the
That's what she's got to
USMCA.
say.
I am glad that these improvements were made that are supported by people like Richard Trumka and Sherrod Brown on labor and environment, and on pharma, the sweetheart deal,
Thank
because I
you.
think we need a big
Thank you,
trading
Senator
bloc with North
Klobuchar.
America to take on China. And the way you
Senator
are stronger
Klobuchar,
with
your
China
time
PGH,
is
for
up.
I agree that CNN is no better than
Mayor
Fox News
Buttigieg,
in that
do you
it is
support the
also
USMCA?
a
Yes or no?
multi-billion-dollar
Yes, it has been
corporation that does not
improved.
want to see
It
rich
is not
people get
perfect.
hurt.
But when you
They're all
sit down
very
with the
concerned with
people who
making
are
sure
most
the people who
impacted,
own these
they
companies do not
share
get hurt.
just how much harm has been done to them.
The difference,
by
however,
things like
is
the trade war, and just how much
when
we
it
can
comes to
benefit
social topics where
American
that's not in
consumers,
play,
workers, and farmers
CNN is
by
better
making
about not
sure we
punching
have
down.
The right kind of
Yeah,
labor
better.
Not by much,
and
but overall is
enforceability as
better.
Democrats
At the end of the day,
ensured
they're
we
all
got
pretty much fuck
in
poor
this
people.
USMCA.
Like,
But
Yeah.
let's acknowledge why there is
But,
such
like,
fear and frustration.
CNN isn't
In
necessary.
my part
So,
of the
like,
country, in the industrial
CNN is not
Midwest,
state-run
I remember
media.
when they came around in the 90s.
like Fox News has
selling
CNN's
become.
okay
telling
with
us,
Pete Buttigieg and
"Don't
other gay
worry
white
about your
dudes."
slice of the
Yeah.
pie. The pie will get so much bigger that everyone will be better off. And that promise was broken. The part about the pie
The
getting
acceptable
Pie.
it's just
spectrum
the
is a
part
little bit
about it
broader.
Getting to most people.
God, what a
where
shitty
I
way to
live
say that. I
did
don't even
not.
have a good way to say
That is
that.
why there is such
It's hard to-
frustration.
it's
The
hard to
sense that
defend
these
CNN in an
decisions
eloquent
in
manner.
boardrooms and in committee rooms in Washington are
They're
being
mildly,
made
they're less
not based
shit
on what's
there.
best.
There's
Even
my argument.
MSNBC.
But based on
MSNBC
their
is still
own
like the.
Vice President Biden.
Yeah,
Senator
do whatever you want as long as it
Sanders
doesn't mess
said
with the
Donald
bottom
Trump will,
line.
quote, "Eat your lunch" for voting yes on what he calls terrible trade agreements. When it comes to trade, why are you the best candidate to take on President Trump?
There will be no trade agreement signed in my administration without environmentalists and labor at the table. And there will
All
be
right,
no trade
that was
agreement
good.
until we invest more in American workers. We should be putting our money and our effort and our time in preparing American workers to compete in the 21st century.
Bernie is processing.
On the high-tech side,
He's,
dealing
like,
with
loading.
all artificial intelligence.
Is
We
Bernie
should
going
be
to turn into a
focusing
dragon
on
and eat Biden?
equipping American
He was
workers
mouthing shit to
to
himself
do
for a
that.
second
And
because
by
he
the
doesn't think
way,
he's on
The
camera.
idea, I don't know that there's any trade
What,
agreement
Bernie?
that the senator
Yeah.
would ever think
You're-
made any sense. But the problem is that 95% of the customers are out there. So we better figure out how we begin to write the rules of the road, not China.
Senator Sanders.
Joe and I have a fundamental disagreement here, in case you haven't noticed. And that is NAFTA, PNTR with China, other trade agreements were written for one reason alone, and that is to increase the profits of large multinational corporations. And the end result of those two, just PNTR with China, Joe, and NAFTA, cost us some 4 million jobs as part of the race to the bottom. I am sick and tired and will not tolerate.
Sick and tired?
And we will use the power of the federal
Someone pay for
contracting
sick and
system.
tired being a rule,
If a
please.
corporation in America
Yeah.
wants to shut down in Iowa or Vermont or any place else, and then they think they're going to get online for a
Oh, no.
generous federal contract, they've got another thing going. We need some corporate responsibility
Pepper,
here,
are you still there?
And we need to
Yeah, I'm here.
protect good-paying jobs in America, not see them go to
You're
China,
still here too?
Mexico, Vietnam,
Mr.
and
Vice
other
President,
Yeah,
locations.
what's
but
your
my
response?
browser
We need
and
corporate responsibility,
screen
and I
totally
agree with
crashed,
that
so now I'm not
completely.
listening anymore.
But we also need to have enforcement mechanisms in the agreements we make, enforceable agreements. That's one of the things that has been improved with the trade agreement with Mexico, and that's what we should be
Right.
doing in any agreement we have. But let's get back to the basics here. If we don't set the rules of the road by going out to our partners instead of poking our eye and poking our finger in the eye of all our friends and allies, we make up 25% of the world's economy. We got to bring the other 25% of our allies along with us to set the rules of the road so China cannot continue to abuse.
We got to
their
stop
power
pretending
by
that
stealing
China's this
our
like weird
stealing
enemy
our
of ours.
intellectual
We give
property
most
and
of our
doing all
money
the
to
other
them.
things
They're like
using
our
their
biggest trade
corporate
partner.
state
What
system.
fucking
also-
universe do we live in where China is a quote unquote bad
Senator
guy
Warren.
against the U.S.
Our
economy.
problem is not
Stop trading with him, then, you
is
fucks.
the amount.
It's been the structure of how these
So
trade deals
they
are
do
Oh, we're
problematic
forced to
things.
trade
United
deal with this
States has had
horrible
strategy
country
for
that's going to
decades.
destroy
And
us,
that
but we have to
strategy
keep
has
giving
been
them
to
money.
have
Like,
government
stop
trade
that, I
negotiators,
guess.
a small
Well, so
number,
one, it's
and
just
then
the
surround them
foreign
with giant
evil power
multinational
playing on
corporation
xenophobia.
Yeah, you gotta
lobbyists
pick a
and
bad
corporate
guy.
executives
But then
who whisper in the
think about
ears
all of the
our
things they
negotiators
own,
and then get
like
deals
outright
cut
own
that
for
are
us.
great for the
Especially
giant
in
I'm
real
not trying to
estate
say
and the
China
real
does
estate
not have
bubble, they're
problems.
making so much worse, both here and in Canada.
Oh yeah, I mean, super rich Chinese people are coming over and buying shit. Why not? Once
Not
again,
just that,
it's
but
the
they're
very
leaving
rich.
things vacant. So
Oh,
like
yeah, of
that
course.
story you just posted where
their 10th, 11th home or whatever.
To the American market, and we
It's
need.
not
I'm
even
not
that, it's
saying
just
China does
spending
not
their
have issues, by the way. I'm not saying that like we need to stop acting like China has problems. China does have problems. But we have to stop pretending like
labor standards.
we give a shit. Like the U.S. does not care. If we cared, we would stop trading with them as soon as they have concentration camps for Muslims, which they have.
From the China deal.
If that's not what we're going to stop over, what are we going to stop over? Like, what are we?
What will you do as
Stop acting like we have this.
president to help
Oh, this
them get
moral
back on their
authority over China. Like we do the same shit China does, but
On the
worse
first day,
sometimes.
I would undo Mr. Trump's.
We got
tariff.
fucking concentration camps for
On the
Mexicans
first
right now.
day, I
Like,
would get rid of his waivers.
not as
that
many.
Senator Klobuchar
but-
was referring to oil refiners, so not having to use corn-based ethanol. In fact, these trade deals have been exactly what Senator Sanders and Warren have been saying, which is that they've been designed to grow the American GDP for the corporations of America, not for the working people
If
of
we all
America.
stopped talking as soon as
and not
Tom
to
Steyer
protect
came
the
on.
climate. So let me say that
Because he
I'm
started
the only
saying
person on this
shit
stage
that
who
we would
says
expect
climate's
out of
my number
Bernie
one
or
priority.
Elizabeth.
I would not
like,
sign this deal.
Our drinking rules
because
are
if
always
climate's
off.
your
They
number
never
one
work.
priority, you
Like,
can't
we
sign
try
a
to guess
deal,
what's gonna happen,
even if
we
it's
can't.
marginally better for working people.
I
until climate
tattooed
is
my
also
drinking
taken into
rules for the
consideration.
Republican debate
Look,
years
I've
ago.
got 4 kids
Tom
between the
Steyer does
ages
look like the
of
Joker right
26
now.
and 31.
He's like
I cannot
purple
allow
and
this
green.
country to go down.
He looks
the path
like
of
the
climate destruction.
older
Everybody in their
on
generation
proper
knows,
medicine.
Frankly, Mayor Buttigieg, you're their generation.
That was bad.
I think you would
straight
be
to. I would call
standing
China
up more.
state capitalist,
Look,
but I think
that's
we
what
have
I'm
the
standing
same
up for.
ideas.
We cannot put climate on the back seat all the time and say we're going to sign this one more deal, we're going to do one more thing.
Yep,
without
Stayer's bringing it
putting
back to the
climate
environment.
first.
That's not bad.
That's why it's my number one priority. We can do it in a way that makes us richer, but we have to do it.
Mayor Buttigieg, your response?
I don't know
That's
if we
right.
can
This
do it in a way
issue
that
is
makes us richer.
personal
That's
for
kind of
me.
the problem,
It's why
Stayer.
we're going to tackle climate from day one. It's why we've got to make sure that we have better answers than we do today. Now, what I've noticed is pretty much all of us propose that we move on
Has
from
Pete
fossil
ever
fuels
actually
by the
properly
middle of
doubled
the
down
century,
on
starting
the
with actions
environment?
that we take right now? The
Yeah.
question is, how are we going to make sure any of this
He's certainly not the
actually
worst
gets
on it,
done?
but-
Because people have been saying the right things in these debates for literally decades. The other day in Winterset, there was a kid at one of my events, raised his hand, and he pointed out that he expects to be here in his 90s in the year 2100. He will sit in judgment over what we
Not
do.
at this rate.
Not just what we on this stage do. Anyone old enough to vote right now, whether we actually put together the national project it will require to meet our climate goals, to act aggressively, not just rejoining the Paris Climate Accord.
We got
that's
a
table stakes,
BEAGGRESSIVE,
but to actually
everyone.
move on from the fossil-dependent
I
economy
didn't
we
follow
live in
those
today.
letters.
Thank you.
Be aggressive.
Let's not turn
Oh.
let's not turn to an issue that's come up in the last 48 hours. Senator Sanders, CNN reported
snorted,
yesterday,
damn it.
Oh, shit,
and
shut
Senator
up.
Sanders,
Here it
Senator Warren
comes.
confirmed in a statement that in 2018 you told her
That you
did not
hate
believe
women.
that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well,
Why
as a
did
matter
you
of
say
fact,
it?
I
Drink.
Didn't say it.
Didn't say it.
And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want.
Some of the
Anybody
media,
knows me,
like CNN.
knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today.
Yep.
There's a video of me
In the 80s.
30 years ago
Uh-huh.
talking about how a woman could become president of
We've
the
all
United
been retweeting
States.
it, Bernie.
In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president.
Yeah, I was there. I was
And
fucking,
you know what?
yes.
I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me.
I hope it's me.
I will do everything in my power to make sure
This
that
Warren
they
split
are
screen is so
elected
fucking
in order to
intense.
defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So Senator
She's like on pins and needles, like, is he
I
gonna
do
say
wanna
a
be
jab?
clear here.
He's
You're
not trying too hard to
saying
go
that you
after her.
never
He's like, I
told
didn't say it.
Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
Oh, CNN. Let's concentrate
Senator
on
Warren,
the fight.
What did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
You're treating it like it's a fact.
I disagree.
Fuck you, CNN.
Bernie is my friend.
What did you think when
and
he
I'm not
definitely
here
said
to
the
try
thing
to
he
fight with
definitely
Bernie.
said?
But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president
Tricky
has been
again for
raised,
this.
and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win
Yeah,
is
she's
by
just gonna not
looking at
talk about it.
people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald
I kind of wish
Trump?
they'd chastise
Look at the
CNN for
men
drilling
on
into
this
it.
Stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on
CNN.
this stage who
So,
have
Bernie,
won
now that
every
you hate
single
women,
election
what are
that
you
they've
going
been
to do?
in are the women, Amy and me.
Bernie, you've said that women should all die and go to hell. How do you think that's going to affect your your polling numbers? Bernie, as the anti-woman candidate, what are your priorities?
Has beaten an incumbent Republican.
When are you going to come out as
anytime
being
in the
against
past
abortion, Bernie?
30 years
Bernie,
is me.
How
And
long of a
here's
prison
what I
term do
know.
you think women
The
should
real
get for having an
danger that
abortion?
we face as Democrats is picking a candidate who can't pull our party together.
Bernie, what do you like
or
about
someone
Sharia
who
law?
takes for granted big parts of the Democratic constituency. We need a candidate who will excite all parts of the Democratic Party, bring everyone in, and give everyone a Democrat to believe in. That's my plan, and that is why I'm going to win.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you.
Senator Klobuchar, what
That's
do
my
you
plan,
say?
and I'm gonna win.
Senator Klobuchar.
Senator Klobuchar, what do you think about Bernie
Senator
Sanders
Klobuchar,
saying that women are all inferior
What do
to
you
men?
say to people who
I thought it was such an open end. I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't comment, but I was going to say.
What do you say to people who say that a woman can't win this election?
Like
I hear
Bernie
that.
Sanders.
People have said it. That's why I've addressed it from this stage. I point out that you don't have to be the tallest person in the room. James Madison was 5'4". You don't have to be the skinniest person in the room. You don't have to be the loudest person. You have to be competent. And when you look at the facts, Michigan has a woman governor right now, and she beat a Republican, Gretchen Whitmer. Kansas has a woman governor right now, and she beat Chris Kobach. And her name
Bernie,
is,
now that
I'm
you've
very
said you will
proud to
execute
know
all American
her,
women
and
under your
her name
presidency,
is, Governor Kelly. Thank you.
how do you think that'll go with your
I
polling
would add
numbers?
to this. You have
Bernie,
to
when are you
be
gonna come out as an
competent
incel?
to win, and
Bernie.
you have to know what you're doing. And when you look at what I have
We
done,
found your 8chan
I
ID,
have won every
talking about how all
every
women should be
place,
sent to
every
camps.
time. I have won in the reddest
What would
of
Bernie's
How do you respond to
Kiwi
that?
Farms
the
account name be?
suburban areas, in the rural areas. I have brought people with me. That is why I have the most endorsements of current Iowa legislators and former Iowa legislators in this race.
Bernie Buster.
Because I know I bring people with me.
Bernie,
And
we found
finally, every
your
single
8chan
person
account,
that I have
Hammer
beaten,
and
my
Dickle.
Republican opponents have gotten out of politics for good. And I think that sounds pretty good. I think that sounds pretty good with the guy we have in the White House.
Bernie,
right
is it
now.
true that you
Senator
called Warren a
Sanders
Stacy?
Just to set the record straight,
Thank you,
I
straight to.
defeated an incumbent Republican running for Congress.
When?
1990. That's how I won, beat a Republican congressman.
He's
Number two.
Warren's doing math up there.
I don't think there's any debate up here.
Wasn't it
She's like the
30
last
years
10, but she's doing the 6-year
An
math.
incumbent
Yeah, it was 30 years
Republican
ago.
congressman.
And I said I was
So,
the only one
30
who's beaten
divided by
an
6 is
incumbent
5
Republican in
elections.
30 years.
Well, 30 years ago was 1990, as a matter of fact. But I don't know that that's the major
God
issue
damn
of
it.
the
I
day.
hate this. This is awkward. I
think
hate
what the
it.
major issue
Warren's
of
trying to
the
be
day is,
petty
let's-
over,
does
is that
anybody
30
in their
or
right
31
mind think
years? And you're like,
that
come on,
women
Warren,
cannot
what the
be
fuck?
elected president? That's enough.
Was the
Nobody
millennium
believes that.
2000 or
Hillary Clinton
2001?
got 1 million votes, more votes than Trump.
What is this,
So who
fucking
believes
Seinfeld?
that
Get
a
out
woman can't win? Of course,
Fuck
a woman
outta here.
can win. But the real question is,
Sorry,
I mean,
in
how does Bernie-
29 years, I'm the
and
only
the
one.
only way we beat Trump is by a
At that point, they
campaign
should have
of
had a planned
energy
skit and had Larry
excitement
David come
and
out
a
as Bernie
campaign
again.
that has by far the largest voter turnout in the history of this country.
I want Larry David
And
to play
I
Bernie.
believe that our campaign.
He's just
has the
Jewish. He's
strongest
definitely
grassroots
Jewish
movement.
enough to do it.
Thank
We have
you.
been endorsed by many
Senator
grassroots
Warren,
organizations.
Senator
That's why
Warren,
we
I
win.
want to give you the final word.
So I do think it's the right question. How do we beat Trump? And here's the thing. Since Donald Trump was elected, women candidates have outperformed men candidates in competitive races. And in 2018, we took back the House. We took back state
True.
houses because
I like
of
it.
women
Ride that
candidates
damn blue wave.
and women
Ride that
voters.
diversity wave.
Look, don't deny that the question is there. Back in
I
the
want to hear
1960s,
voices and
people
ideas
asked,
that
"Could
are not what
Catholic
I have
win?"
already heard.
Back
Yeah,
in
they don't sound like what my
2008,
family
people
says all
asked
day.
if an African American could win. In both times,
Pepper,
the
how much
Actually, I have a very
did you
good family,
experience
actually.
casual
stepped
finger
up
food
and
racism over the
said
holidays?
yes.
Well,
Got
you remember, my
behind their
family's kind of
candidate,
amazing.
and
They're like
we
a huge
changed
I know, I
America.
know.
That's who we
Me and
are.
my dad sit in the
Vice
garage,
President
smoke, and
Biden.
talk about socialism.
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
Kind of great.
I agree. Women can win, and I've went in and campaigned for 27 of them. This
I
last
agree
in
women can win, which is
2018.
why I've decided
The
to
best
announce I will be
group I've ever
transitioning.
campaigned for in terms of competence. But the real issue
Ultimate-
is who can bring
ultimate,
the whole party together. Represents all
Biden
elements
flip.
of the party. African Americans, brown, black, women, men, gay, straight. The fact of the matter is that I would argue that in terms of endorsements around the country, endorsements wherever we go, I am the one who has the broadest
Oh, put your foot in your
coalition
mouth, buddy.
of anyone running up here in this race.
All right, we're going to take
Boom!
a short break now. The CNN
He's just trying not to fuck up. You can feel him. He's like tightrope, like, oh, don't say the.
We'll be right back after this.
Keep it together, Joey. We got this. We're almost at the commercial break. All right, I'm turning my screen cap to blank so the CNN logo doesn't fuck me somehow. So, hi guys. This is an excellent opportunity to grab yourselves a drink, go to the bathroom. I'm actually going to hit a 120-second ad break because the four of you that don't have ad block, here you go.
Yay!
Yeah, there it is. Put an F in the chat if you are not getting the ad break. I am going to take my bathroom break because these breaks do not last super long. BRB.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I
Gotta
filled
get my
my
other
water
White
glass
Claw.
and then left it in the kitchen.
Also helpful. Be right back.
Wait, I have a transition. I got a waiting screen for this.
Wait. Oh, nice.
Wait, here, look.
See, you're all like prepared and shit. Ad block does work on Twitch, Molly, sometimes. Depends on the type of ad. Whoop. My headphones.
Alrighty, well, I am back. And I see people are asking Sue about the butt hurt. That's fascinating. Oh, hi, Silence. And hi, Sue. Wait, who's becoming a dinosaur? Does someone have a dinosaur ass? My hiney still hurts. That is sad. Hello, QQH. I am trying to potentially fight off a mild cold with a little bit of delicious, delicious whiskey. Let's see if this green label gets green screened. Little bit. This is a magnificent bottle. And it's going to not live much longer. Alrighty, let's bring up the chat window again. Oh, hey, Benny. Oh, who booted me for my dinosaur ass comment? I can't even claim originality from that. That one's my dad's. Alcohol is a disinfectant. OJ. My TARs are better. My life is a series of misadventures that sometimes are at least amusing and usually result in the continued learning experience that I am a genetic train wreck. I am a hobbling recessive gene. My existence is an affront to nature and a credit to science. I have a dinosaur ass because the chair I'm sitting in is very not conducive for this, but it's the only chair I have that won't interfere with my green screen. No, I'm not a Benjamin Button. That would imply that at some point I have it in the cards for me that I'm going to have like a prime of my life, even if in reverse time. No. I started off with like 30-year-old joints at 0, and now that I'm 33 going on 34, that puts me in mid-60s for joints.
Protections for pre-existing conditions. We all know that each of you vigorously opposes that. Still, there are some questions about what each of you would do. Senator Sanders, you've consistently refused to say exactly how much your Medicare for All plan is going to cost. Don't voters deserve to see the price tag before you send them a bill that can cost tens of trillions of dollars?
What I will
effectively
tell you
raising taxes to cover an important
Medicare
program,
for
except
All,
not quite.
which will guarantee comprehensive health care to every man, woman, and child, will cost substantially less than the status quo. Medicare for All will end the absurdity.
Lifting is a good idea, and I look forward to getting back to it again.
The highest prices in the world for prescription drugs and health care in general. While we have 87 million uninsured.
Oh, is Pepper doing poop phone?
Uninsured and underinsured, and while 30,000 people die each year. On the Medicare for All, one of the provisions we have to pay for it is a 4% tax on income, exempting the first $29,000. So the average family in America that today makes $60,000 would pay $1,200 a year, compared to that family paying $12,000 a year. We save money, comprehensive health care, because we take on the greed and the profiteering.
All right, let's see. Any bets that they're going to go, okay, so you're raising taxes, never mind the fact that the
Vice President Biden,
cost to each family is going to drastically go down?
I think we need to be candid with voters. I think we have to tell them what we're going to do and what it's going to
fuck
cost.
off with that question.
And a 4% tax on income over $24,000 doesn't even come close to paying for between 30 and some estimates as high as $40 trillion over 10 years. That's doubling the entire federal budget per year. There's a way to do that. The way to do that is to take Obamacare, reinstate, rebuild
take the money back
provide
from
a public
billionaires.
option, allow Medicare for those folks who want it, and in fact, make sure that we, in the process, reduce the cost of drug prices, reduce the cost of being able to buy into the subsidize it further, and make it everybody available to everyone. Here's the deal. That costs a lot of money. That costs $740 billion over 10 years. I lay out how I pay for that.
How much do the wars cost?
Well, first of all,
gee
what
golly.
Joe forgets to say is when you leave the current system as it is, what you are talking about are workers paying, on average, 20% of their incomes.
For-profit
health
healthcare and insurance is immoral, straight up.
500,000 people going bankrupt because they cannot pay their medical bills. We're spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as do the people of any other country. Look, we've talked about healthcare for all in this country for over 100 years. Now is the time to take on the greed and corruption of the healthcare industry,
it was the time all along,
of the drug
but
companies,
I would like for it to happen.
Finally, provide healthcare for all through a Medicare
We're missing
for
it.
all.
Pepper, you have to
program.
drink. They
It
hit
won't be
the
easy, but that is what we have to do.
you're raising
do it without
taxes,
that.
even though
You
it will
do it
save
without
families
Medicare for
an
all.
order
You
of
can get
magnitude of
the
money.
same place.
What they
Senator
hammered on Warren
Sanders-
last time, they
yeah,
just
Senator
did to
Sanders and I
Bernie.
have worked together on pharmaceuticals
All
for
right,
a
I'm back.
long, long time, and we agree on this. But what I don't agree with
Oh,
is
wait,
that we
Pepper, you didn't hear
his
anything I just
position
said
on
to you.
healthcare.
Nope.
This debate isn't real.
You have to
I was
drink.
in Vegas
They did
the other
the
day, and
whole,
someone said,
oh,
"Don't
so
put
you're
your
raising
chips
taxes
on a
even
number
though
on the wheel
the overall cost
that
to families
isn't
will go
even
down."
on the wheel." That's the problem. Over 2/3 of the Democrats in the U.S. Senate are not
One
on the
claw
bill
down.
that you and Senator Warren are on. You have numerous governors that are Democratic that don't support this. You have numerous
Yes.
House members that put
Klobuchar
Nancy
is just
Pelosi
pointing
in
out the reasons I
Speaker.
don't like the Democrats.
The answer is a nonprofit public option. The answer is the real debate we should be having
Here he
is how
comes.
do we make it easier for people
Get
to
him,
get
Bernie.
coverage for addiction and mental health. I have a plan for that. And then finally, what should we do about long-term care? The
Okay, those are
elephant that
good
doesn't even
things to
fit in
do,
this
but those
room.
also
We need
aren't
to
what
make it
are
easier
sinking
for people
most
to get
people.
long-term care insurance. We need to make it easier for them to pay for their premiums. My own dad, I know when his long-term care insurance ends. And then we have some savings for him. He's in assisted living. He got married 3 times, whole nother story, so there isn't much there. But
Look,
then we go to
it's
Medicaid,
about
and
math.
I've already
Thank
talked
you.
to
Insurance
Catholic Elder
works
Care. They're
because
willing to
people
take
pay
him
into a pool.
Our story is
And the
better
most
than so many
efficient
other
pool
families.
is
We
the
have to
biggest
make it
pool.
easier for
Anything
long-term
else
care.
is a
It's not
shell
just
game
Senator
of making
Klobuchar,
some
it's
people
also
pay
for the
more than they
sandwich
would
generation.
if
Senator
everyone
Klobuchar.
was
Trying to
in the
help their
pool
parents.
Senator Warren.
to ease
So
the
we need to
hurt
start with
of
what's
the
happening in America.
outliers.
People are suffering. I'll just pick one. 36
Mathematically,
million people
single
last
payer,
year
like
went to the
globally,
doctor, got a prescription. This
that
is
would be
what
the
they
best
needed to get
option,
well,
but that's
and they
gay-space
couldn't afford to
communism,
have
and we're
the
not there yet.
prescription filled. They looked at it and said it's either groceries or this prescription. My approach to this is we've got to get as much help to as many people as quickly as possible. I have worked out a plan where we can do that without raising taxes
like,
on middle-class
help the
families.
people who are,
by
you know,
one
dying
thin
now.
dime. What I can do are the things I can do as president on the first day. We can cut the cost of prescription drugs. I'll use the power that's already given to the president to reduce the cost of insulin and EpiPens and HIV/AIDS drugs. Let's get some relief to those families, and I will defend the Affordable Care Act. I've got a plan to expand health care, but let's keep in mind, when we come to a general election, we Democrats may argue among each other
Defend the
about
Affordable
the best way to do
Health
health
Care Act's
but
like,
we're going to be up
okay.
against a Republican incumbent.
Okay,
who has
so in
cut
context,
healthcare
that
for
does make
millions
sense
of
because they're
people and
trying
is
to
still
remove,
trying to do
like
that.
they want to get
I'll
rid of
take
things
our
that
side of the
are
argument any
somewhat
day.
helping
We're gonna
now
pay
without
Senator
having
Warren.
replacement.
Vice President Biden.
Yeah, it just feels like
Proposal
I'm going to
I lay
hold on
out
really
does,
hard
in
to this
fact,
thing that
limit
sucks
drug costs.
because it'd be
It sets up.
like replace it with
Yeah.
something better. You don't have to worry about
drug-
defending Obamacare. You just my signal go down? My computer freeze?
I still hear you.
Oh, you're still here. That's good.
Yeah.
What up? What's going on with my signal? I'm gonna have to reload my shit. Web page is slowing down your browser. What do you want to do? Stop it. All right, reload.
Yeah, the CNN page's been a bit fucky for me as well.
Sorry, buddy. We're coming back. Don't worry. Live updates. What is your stream break?
The Biden option.
CNN
Hey,
can't
Avon,
afford
and
bands.
yes, sunk cost
on this
fallacy.
stage for every single American.
Care back.
Everybody on this stage, Americans are paying twice as much for health care as any other advanced country.
See ya,
in the
Allie.
world.
Thanks for stopping by.
Any other advanced country in healthcare.
Bye, Allie. Thanks for hanging out.
Any other advanced government has to
Oh, it's
step
good to
in.
see you.
I do happen to agree with Vice President Biden that we should move and develop the Affordable Care Act with a public option. But the real question is this.
Everyone should be
This
happy
is not a
smell-o-vision
new problem.
isn't a
Why do we
thing. My
keep having
pet
this
snake is
conversation?
gross.
We have a broken government.
A smelly
It has been
snake.
bought by corporations
He
that
did this
include the
while
drug
this is going
companies,
on, and
the
it's
insurance
disgusting, and I
companies,
can't
the
clean his
private
page right
hospitals.
now.
That's what I'm talking about. How do we get back government of, by, and for the people? How do we actually
Thank
break
you.
the corporate stranglehold on our
Thank you.
government so that we
Thank
can
you,
get
Mr.
any
Steyer.
of these things passed?
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Senator Sanders, your campaign proposals would double federal spending over the next decade, an unprecedented level of spending not seen since
Oh, here we
World
go.
War
Drink
II.
again.
How would you keep
All
your
the good shit
plans
you want to
from
do will cost
bankrupting?
money. What do we do?
Our plans
Stop
would
spending
bankrupt
fucking much money on
the country.
shitty
In
wars.
fact, it would much improve the well-being of working-class families and the middle class. Let us be clear what Medicare for All does. It ends all premiums. It ends all co-payments. It ends the absurdity of deductibles. It ends out-of-pocket expenses. It takes on the pharmaceutical industry, which in some cases charges us 10 times more for same prescription drugs sold abroad as sold here. What we will do through a Medicare for All single payer program is
Love that bottom
substantially
third.
lower the cost of health care for employers and workers, because we end the $100 billion a year that the healthcare industry makes and the $500 billion a year we spend in the administrative nightmare of dealing with thousands of separate insurance plans. Healthcare is a human right. Every other major country on earth is guaranteeing healthcare for all. The time is long overdue for us.
I do like that.
to do
I
the
like
same.
answering how are we going to pay for
Again,
it. It's
I
a
think
human
it is
right.
much better to build
Paying
on the
for it isn't
Affordable
the
Care
question.
Act,
It's kind of
and
the
if you wanna be
secondary thing. We pay for a
practical
lot
and
of shit that we don't know how we're
progressive
going
at
to. We
the
do a lot of shit we
same
don't know how
time,
we're going to pay for. Every time we
and
go to
not a pipe
war,
dream.
no one ever
You have to
asks, how are we
show
going to pay for
you're
this
gonna
shitty
for it.
war?
And I
You
would
know, we
also
just do
note
it.
practically that the Affordable Care
'Cause there's
Act right
political
now
will to
is
do it.
10 points more popular than
I
the
also
President of the
appreciate
United
that
States.
Pete hasn't
So
had
I
a
think
bunch
the
to say
answer
right now.
is to build on it. And yes, I think you should show how you're going to pay.
Are they really going to double down on, like, we have to just keep the Affordable Care Act? It's good enough. Is that what we're really doing?
In one of his bankrupt casinos, the way he is adding to our debt. I am the one person up here who has on her website in her plan, a plan to actually start taking on the deficit by taking
my
part of
background is
that
an
money
artist
from that
right now,
corporate
so.
tax cut that they put in there and putting it in a fund to pay back the
you.
deficit.
I've yellowized everyone. Oh, the yellow makes
Every single
Klobuchar's
plan.
blush like
Capital gains
explode.
taxes are going to show.
Whoa.
Getting rid of the oil giveaways. Doing
Someone's
something
horny
about
on
the
me.
hedge fund loophole.
She looks like
You
the
can
Dragon
go
Ball Z
through
kid.
it
She's like
and
Mr.
get the
Popo.
money
She's
to
just
pay
like
for
red
it.
Oh my
circles.
gosh.
Mayor Buttigieg, you're selling your plan as Medicare for all who want it, yet your plan
Who
would
want it?
automatically enroll uninsured Americans into a public option, even if they don't want it, and force them to pay for it.
Are you
How
about
is
to say
that truth in
Buttigieg's plan is too
Well,
much?
it's
This milk
making
toast
sure that there is
motherfucker's
no
plan
such
is
thing
too radical
as
for
an
you,
uninsured
CNN?
American. Look, the individual mandate was an important part of the ACA because the system doesn't work if there are free riders. What I'm offering is a choice. You don't have to be in my plan if there's another plan that you would rather keep. And there's
But
no
it's still
need
paying too much
kick
to the
Americans
individual
off the plans
person.
that they want in order to deliver health care for all. And my plan is paid for. Look, our
Somebody
party
give me
should
some
go ahead and talk about the issues
There we go,
and the
Pepper.
deficit. We've got a dramatically better track
Good
record
ad,
than
definitely.
Every
Republicans
time
do.
Bernie
In my
says,
lifetime,
"Let
it's
me be
almost
clear."
invariably
Well, anytime anyone says, "Let me be
Republican
clear."
presidents who have added to the deficit $1 trillion under this president. And it's why everything I put forward, from Medicare for
Is that
all
an
who
image
want
or is
it,
that oh, you
to
are
the
adding it. There
historic
you go.
investments we're going to make in
Yeah, just a
infrastructure
little text
to
box,
dealing
easy.
with climate change is fully paid for. When it comes to healthcare, you can do it in 2 moves. Of course, my plan costs $1.5 trillion over a decade. No small sum, but not the 20, 30, 40 that we're hearing about.
We need to stop saying it's going to cost what the entire healthcare industry costs, because most of the healthcare industry money is fucking waste right now.
It is.
Like, more than half of it is just bullshit.
It's. I know it's less than half.
There's
but
no
what is the actual-
advertising budget anymore. There's no CEO budget. 90%, basically the entire administrative cost disappears.
Prescription filled.
The
We all talk
executive
about
administrative
plans,
cost
healthcare plans
disappears,
that we
but someone
have,
was
and these plans
asking
are paid for.
what happens to the people with
The
jobs.
problem is
Well,
that
if you're an
plans
if you're an
like
adjuster
the
for
vice
claims for a
presidents,
private
is that
insurance
they are
company,
an
you can be an adjuster for
they're an
claims
improvement
in
of
the
what we're
public
doing right
insurance
now.
company,
They're
whatever.
smaller.
Like you'd work for the
And
fucking
that's
Department of
why it is
Health.
that they cost so
Well,
much.
so
The
here's the
jobs
other
they're
thing that's
doing
missing.
are still
Because by
necessary,
themselves, they're not gonna be
except
enough
instead of trying to figure out how to say no to people,
for
you just
36
process the
million people
paperwork and say,
who
go
can't
have your
afford to get
operation.
filled.
Like,
Well, so that's
someone
the
still
thing.
has to do that.
Let's make the
With
commitment
single payer,
that
you
we
also get
know
to
where
short
the money
circuit
comes
the
from.
issues
We
with
can ask those at the very
EMR
top,
or
the
EHR,
top 1% to pay a
electronic
little
health
more.
records.
Those giant
So
corporations like Chevron,
it's all
Amazon,
single
who pay
payer,
nothing
and
in
then
taxes,
your
we can
electronic
have
health
them
records
pay.
are publicly
And we
owned.
can go after the corporate tax
There's a
cheats.
lot
And
of
when
work
we
that has
do
to go
that,
into that.
we have
Like
enough
a
money
shit ton.
to
There's going to
provide
be
healthcare
another
for
tech
all our
sector
people.
boom of jobs.
Yes, we
If you
build
go
on
from
the
having
Affordable Care
some
Act,
Americans
but
able
where
to
we
participate
end
in the
up is
healthcare
we
industry to
offer
all
healthcare
Americans
to
being able
all
to
of our
participate,
people.
I think it's going to be
And we
kind of a
can
wash. I
offer
think you're going
it
to have
at
about the
no
same number of
cost or
jobs.
low cost
Like
to
more
all of
people involved,
Mayor
but the
Buttigieg.
same number of people
It's
currently
just
like working in it.
not true.
You're gonna
Just
you're gonna
really
overall
different job. Yeah.
Proposing is
to
smart.
gonna be about
modernize
the
our
same-
system.
Passed a
That probably
Washington
would be a
mentality
job
that
boom.
suggests that
Yeah,
the
for a minute,
bigness of
and then once it
plans
evens out, I
only
think it's about the
consists of
same
how many
number of people
trillions
working in it
dollars
as there
they
are
put
now.
through the Treasury. That the
Because
bulk
suddenly
of
there's
your
like
talking about
30
many,
million
many
more
years
people.
to get that
Oh
going.
yeah, like 20, 30 years from now when it's all settled and we all just
This would be
have
the biggest
healthcare.
thing we've done to American healthcare there in a half century. Let's measure the effects of our plans based on what they would do in our everyday lives. And
All right,
yes,
Booty.
We're taking on
Booty,
costs
you don't
on
actually want to give
prescription
everyone
drugs.
health
We'll
care.
have an
You want to give everyone
out-of-pocket cap.
who
Even if you
wants
don't
it,
get
meaning
the
it's an
subsidies that would
opt-in
make it free,
program with a lot of
a
means testing, which I also
$250
don't
monthly
like.
cap. And here's why it's got to be monthly. You ever been in that situation or known somebody?
Some people in the
who
U.S. are
finds
just
that
kind
they've
of
got to
not on
defer
top of their
procedure,
shit, and they
delay
might not
funding
end up with health
prescription
care,
to
even
try
if
to
it's
have it happen
available.
in the right month? Because of when your out-of-pocket cap hits, it makes no sense.
Why should
medically,
anyone have to
because
spend
most of us
mental
don't experience
spoons
the
on
economy
stuff
on an
that
annual
should
basis.
just
Our
be a given?
bills don't come
Same thing with
in
voter
every year, they
registration.
come
That
in
shit
every
should be
month.
automatic.
Same
You're
with our
18,
paychecks,
driver's
bi-weekly
license,
or
boom.
monthly. That's why we set this up in a way to solve the
You got to
problem
sign up for the
without
fucking
running
draft
into
that should register for you to vote.
Senator Warren, your response?
Christ.
Look, the numbers that the mayor's offering just don't add up. The average family in America last year paid $12,000
Warren,
in
give me
some
something here.
combination of deductibles and copays and uncovered expenses and fees. You can't cover that with the kind of money that the mayor is talking about. The way we have to approach this is we've got to build this, and we've got to build the alliances to make this happen. I can bring down the cost of prescription drugs like insulin and take hundreds of millions of dollars out of the system immediately in costs. We can get help to families, but we have to be willing to work together. We can let people experience what healthcare is like when it's you and your doctor, your mental health professional, your nurse practitioner with no insurance company standing in the middle. When
Thank you,
people
Senator
try it
Warren.
and
Warren.
use it,
Senator Klobuchar.
Then, Senator Warren, you acknowledged that
Good.
Medicare
I like
for All,
Warren.
that you couldn't get
Good,
there right
good.
away. You got on the bill that said on page 8, which is why I didn't get on it, that you would kick 149 million Americans off their current health insurance.
Yes.
Then, a few
That's
months ago, you
fine.
said, no, you're going to wait a while.
When
to
there's
get-
a
if we
net
make-
that
I think was some
encapsulates
acknowledgement that maybe
everything,
what we're
it's
talking about is true.
fine.
What are
And
you
I
going to do?
don't
Just
buy
kick all
that
these
it's
Americans
not
off their
enough.
tobacco
It is a
companies? It's like, yeah,
big
sure, because they don't
step
fucking
to
need
say
them.
to
Like,
people
it's
making
not a necessary
$100,000
part.
a year that your premiums will
Look,
cut
what
in-
about
be
the
cut in
middleman? All
half,
I'm
which
saying,
is
as
what the
Amy Klobuchar
nonprofit
is,
public
think about the
option will
middleman.
do. And if
What
you
are they going to
talk,
do
Mayor
for money when
Buttigieg,
they aren't
about,
vampirically
Medicare
sucking
and,
money out of the healthcare
having
industry?
negotiation, I actually have led that bill for years. I have 34 co-sponsors. As president, I can get it done. That would allow Medicare to finally negotiate.
Look, I could
and
get a
lift the
much
ban that Big
shittier
Pharma
healthcare
got
plan
into
through,
law
but
that
I could
says
get
they
it
can't
through, therefore
negotiate
it's
for
good,
better
right?
prices for our seniors. I will get it done.
Senator Sanders, coming to you now. CNN reached out
he's ready.
to Iowa Democratic voters for their most pressing questions. Edward from here in Des Moines writes, Des Moines is an insurance town. What happens to all the insurance industry, the health insurance industry here if there is Medicare for all? What happens to all the jobs?
What
and the
happens to all
livelihoods
these
of the
jobs if
people
suddenly
that live
people
in
can go to the
insurance towns like
doctor? I feel like we're burying the lead here,
build
people.
into our Medicare for All program a transition fund of many, many billions of dollars that
They're
will
going to
provide
turn
for
around
up
and
to
ask where's
5
the money
years
coming from.
income and health care and job training for those people. But here is the issue.
Just
Tom
silence
Steyer
a
made
year or
the point
two,
a moment
more
ago.
than that.
We are now spending twice as much per person on health care as do the people of any other country. That is insane. In some cases, 10 times more for
Good night,
prescription
Caustic.
drugs.
Love you.
Why is that? Why is that? And the answer is the greed and corruption
Why is that?
of the drug companies and the insurance companies. And if we want to do what every other major
Like,
country
I would take
on
a
earth does
lower paying
and
job if
guarantee
it
people
meant I didn't
healthcare
have to
is a
worry about my
human
health
right,
bullshit.
Exactly.
not a privilege.
If suddenly you're not trapped in
You know
your
what we
shit
have to
job
do?
because you need
We are
insurance.
finally going to
Yeah.
have to stand up to the healthcare industry.
Every single
and
person in
end
this chat knows
hundreds of
someone who has
billions
their
of
job
dollars of
only
waste
for the
and
insurance.
profiteering.
Mr. Steyer.
Everyone does.
I just want to
I had
emphasize
teacher
what
coworkers
Senator
who only
Sanders-
worked
Wait,
because they
this is
needed their
not
own
a
insurance.
complicated
Their
problem.
wife made the actual
Between
money,
what
and they
Senator
had like a
Warren and
fun
Senator
time
Sanders
job.
said, it's clear. There are two problems.
Being a
We're
public school
spending
teacher.
way too much.
This is great.
because
Steyer is
corporations
standing
own the
Bernie.
system,
I love this.
Fuck
and we're
yeah.
not negotiating against those corporations. And we've given tax cuts to the richest Americans and the biggest corporations.
Steyer would
for
actually probably make a
decades.
good VP,
That's
right?
all this is.
Yeah,
We
make-
have
go be a senator or
corporations
congressperson.
who
I
are
don't
having their
fucking-
way with the
be a
American
mayor.
people, and people are suffering. Senator Warren is right. This is cruelty for money.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
In
he
order
said
to
it.
break
He
this,
said
we're
it.
going to have to
Okay, never mind.
the
Steyer
corporate
2020.
stranglehold and solve both the tax
Cruelty for money.
and the
Like,
negotiating
you
power.
said
That's
what
why I'm for
capitalism
journalism.
is. Yes.
Good line.
We need to redo Washington, D.C.
Thank
and
you.
actually
Thank
take
you,
back
Mr.
the
Steyer.
government from the corporations
Thank
who
you,
bought
Mr.
it.
Steyer. Vice President Biden.
I would argue that the biggest breakthrough in recent time was us being able to do in our administration what five Democratic presidents couldn't get done, and that is pass Obamacare.
which
was a
is
big
actually
deal.
Romney care.
Secondly,
Fuck
I
you.
would argue that the way you control drug prices is you limit what they can charge for those prices. You don't have to
I
pay
like
the
that.
price. Limit what they can
Steyer,
charge.
take us
If,
higher,
in fact, they
2020.
charge more
Steyer,
than
take us
we set the
higher.
price for.
Preferably
they
not on
they
Percocet,
in
though.
fact, we can people
Steyer,
can
restart the
enforce them
dryer,
abroad, assuming that
2020.
it is safe. We, in fact, it's only yellow. Wolf, okay, and we can in fact do all of this and still provide
Steyer,
people
always on
an
permanent
option
press.
to stay the roughly 150 160 million Americans who like the negotiated plan they have with their employers.
I
If they
don't know
like it or the employer
anyone
gets rid of it,
who is
they
like a
can
big
buy into
fan
a
of their
Medicare
insurance
plan
company.
and the Biden plan.
Let's
It's
talk
the
a little bit
assholes you
more
gotta
about
deal with in
prescription
between your
drugs
doctor.
Right now, prescription drug prices.
I love my
in
internet service
2018,
provider.
Americans spent
Like,
$335 billion
who says that?
on prescription drugs
Dude,
alone. That's
that
about
would change it
$60
overnight.
billion more than
Your
they
current
paid
insurance
a
is like
decade
getting
ago.
internet from and cable
Senator
from
Warren,
Comcast.
You've called for the creation
Fucking
of
worse,
a
'cause they have more
government-run
leverage.
drug manufacturer that
Yeah,
would
but it
step in
emotionally
if
would
there is a
speak to
drug
people.
shortage or
that's
a
how I try to
price
compare it.
spike. Why does it make sense for the government to
Steyer
manufacture
grabbed the
drugs,
hairdryer.
especially when public trust in government is near historic lows?
So let's do this both ways. What I also have said is I'm just going to use the power that is available, and I will do what a president can do all by herself on the very first day, and that is lower the prices of certain prescription drugs. I will lower.
I'm
the
genuinely
price
sad that
of
Yang is not
insulin.
on stage,
We already
actually.
have the
I wish
legal
he was here.
authority with the president to do that. President just hasn't picked up and used it.
He's great.
I will lower the price of
I like having him
EpiPens,
around.
HIV/AIDS drugs.
Just go to him
That's gonna bring
every
a lot
hour,
of
let him
relief
say
to
one
a
thing.
lot of families immediately. But you know, there are a whole lot
He
of
did
drugs,
his
about
job.
90% of drugs that are not under
he planted the
patent.
seeds.
They're generic drugs. But
Next
the drug
cycle.
industry has figured out how to manipulate this industry to keep jerking the prices up and up
Jerkin'.
and up. So my view is, let's give them a little competition. The government lets
Jerkin'
contracts
competition.
for all kinds of things. They let contracts to build buildings. They let contracts to build military weapons. Let's let the contracts out, put the contracts out so that we can put more generic drugs out there and drive down those prices.
Sure.
This is a way to
Smile at me.
make markets work, not to try to move away from the market. You don't have to even use price controls. The whole idea behind it is get
Oh,
some
come on, Warren,
competition
move away
out
from the
there
market,
so
please.
The price of these drugs that are no longer under patent drops where it should be.
Senator Klobuchar, do you believe the government should be
The
manufacturing
market is what's
drugs?
fucking us up.
I am
This
open
should
to
not be
looking
a
at
market.
it, but I would try these things first. Number one, I
Profit
mentioned the
over
Medicare
health is
negotiation.
immoral.
Number two, I have a plan, 137 things I found that a president can do herself in the first 100 days without Congress that are legal. And one of those things
The
is that
subtext
you can
of drugs
start
being
bringing in
generic
less
or
expensive
not
drugs from other
is
countries.
essentially
Bernie and I had
a
an amendment
patent
on this.
argument
We got 14
and a
Republican
monopoly
votes
argument.
on it. It was at
More
midnight. They might have not known what they were
quasi-related to the whole
voting
how the
for, but we
copyright
got
system
that.
is fucked. The patent
I
system's
now
pretty
have
fucked
an
too.
actual bill with Senator
Yep.
Grassley that does that, and I have a bill to get at what.
Oh yeah, we have one
Elizabeth
frequent
was
visitor,
talking
Gal
about, which
Wadir,
is
who was
to
actually
stop
in attendance
generics,
tonight at
from
this
taking
current
money
debate we're
from
watching,
big
which is
pharmaceuticals to keep their products off the market. The issue here is that there are two pharma lobbyists for every member of
They have sown the audience
They think
0
they own
times.
Washington. They don't own me.
I think they've been
And as
told to not
president,
clap,
I will
too.
get this done.
We're going
Good.
to turn now to child
I mean,
I don't like
a
it.
huge expense for many new families
I like
and a problem
because the
that's
pop
especially
sometime
acute in rural
enfor-
Iowa.
like
We have
gives you an
another
idea of
question
what
from an
people.
Iowa
Yeah.
Democratic voter. Mayor Buttigieg, this
But
is
they'll
for
pop
you.
for things
Tiffany from
that
Clyde
are
writes, as a young
shallow.
mom, I had
Yeah.
to quit a job
So,
I love
like,
because
I don't want
childcare
it.
costs
It is a
were taking up
distraction, but-
2/3 of my income. Many families don't have the option of
We
quitting a
like it
job
when they
because that
pop
little
for the
bit of
things
income
we
is
like.
needed.
Like
That
you-
leads to
But
families
I will get
using
rid of
whatever
that
care they
for
can
them
get.
popping
And
for
sometimes the results
shallow
are
shit.
deadly, as we've seen in
For some
Iowa
reason,
over
when
the
Bernie
last few
sit,
years.
just when
How
you
will
expose people
prioritize
to Bernie
accessing
Sanders,
quality,
they like him.
affordable childcare in
Like
your first
conservative
100
Because he
Democrat,
actually
it
is
doesn't-
for them.
It makes
Genuinely.
no sense.
yeah,
For
like,
childcare to
there's-
cost 2/3.
So
of
I
somebody's
like the
income.
pop for
You've got to
that.
drive it to 7% or
Because they'll
more.
be like, people will be
And
like, actually,
zero for
Bernie,
those
and you're like,
families
right, thank
who are
you.
living in poverty. But this is happening to folks at every level.
He was
of the
on Fox
income
News,
spectrum.
and people are like, this
Meet
guy's cool.
professionals who sometimes
Yeah.
say that they're working in order to be able to afford childcare in order to be able to be working. It makes no sense, and it must change, and we shouldn't be afraid.
All right, Buttigieg, you've
to put
identified a
federal
problem.
dollars into making that a reality. subsidizing childcare and making sure that we were building up a workforce of people who are
How do you
paid
subsidize
at a
it?
decent
Tax
level
credit?
to
Wrong
offer
answer.
Early childhood education, as well as childcare writ large. We can do that. And until we do, this will be one of the biggest drivers of the gender pay gap. Because when somebody like the voter asking the question has to step out
I would
of the
like to get away.
workforce
Someone's
because
saying like
of that
Kyle
reason,
Kalinske.
she is at a disadvantage.
He's a secular
when she
talk
comes
guy,
back
so
in,
you
and
should
that can
like
affect
give him
her
a
pay for the rest of her
look,
career.
Pepper.
Senator Warren, your
I would like us
education plan
as
includes
a nation
tuition-free
to get
public
away from,
college
hey,
for
this is
all,
one of the few
but
people
you
saying a
impose an
thing I
income
like, but
limit
they're a
for
media
free
personality.
childcare.
They should run.
Why do your plans cover everyone
I
for
actually want
public college,
politicians to
but
run.
not
I just
childcare and
want them
early
to
learning?
No,
not
actually,
be a
my
moral,
plan is universal child care for everyone. It just
or
has
you
some
know,
people adding
moral but
a
not
small
bought and paid
payment.
for, because
But
that's one of the
understand
few ways
this
to get your
about
foot in the
plan.
door.
I've been there.
The only thing I doubt about
I
Warren is
remember
the strength
when
of
I
her
was,
morals,
a
quote
young
unquote.
mom.
Like she
I had
seems
2
super
little
willing,
kids, and
like
I
given
had
the
my
opportunity to
first
win,
real
to just be like,
university
cool, yeah, I'll
teaching
go with
job.
that.
It was hard work. I was excited, but it was childcare that nearly brought me down. We went through one childcare after another, and it just didn't work.
However, Warren
If I
has
hadn't
been poor
saved by
before.
my Aunt B, I was ready to quit my job. And I think about how many women of my generation just got knocked off the track and never got back on. How many
Like,
of
she
my
doesn't
daughter's
need to be
generation
president.
get knocked
She's-
off the track and don't
has a
get back on?
fabulous academic
How many
career.
mamas and daddies
Yeah.
today are getting knocked off the track and never get back on? I have a 2
Knock
cent
off the
wealth
track
tax
and I never get
so that we can cover child care for all of our children and provide universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America, and stop exploiting the people who do this valuable work, largely Black and brown women. We can raise the wages of every child care worker and
Good night,
preschool
crypto.
teacher in America.
Thanks for hanging
That's
out,
an
Contra.
investment in our babies. That's an investment in their mamas and their daddies, and it's an investment in our teachers and in our economy.
Senator
All right, I keep
Sanders,
seeing
will
that
your
like Warren lies
universal
about
child
shit.
care
Is
programs
this
be
just
free for
FUD
everyone,
being thrown
regardless of
around,
income?
or
Let me just pick up.
is it just standard political horse shit that
Every
we're not a fan of,
psychologist
but
in
calling
the
it a
world
lie
has
is a bit much?
She doesn't have any extreme lies. I mean, this new thing where she's saying Bernie said women can't be president sure says.
And yet our current child care system is an embarrassment.
That
It is
sure seems like a lie
unaffordable.
right
Childcare
now,
workers
based
are
on what we
making
know.
Wages
Yeah.
lower than McDonald's workers. We need to fundamentally change priorities in America.
Oh, hell yeah.
We should not be one of the few countries that does not have universal, high-quality, affordable child care. We should not be one of the only major countries not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. We should not be spending more than the 10 next countries on
I mean,
the
I don't have
military.
a problem with
Hundreds of
rich
billions of
folk
dollars in subsidies
not paying
the
for
fossil fuel
childcare because
industry,
they are paying
tax
for
breaks
it
for
through a
billionaires,
progressive
and
tax
then tell the
system.
moms and dads in this country we
Thank you,
cannot have
Senator.
high-quality,
Vice President
affordable
Biden, I'm coming to
childcare.
you now.
That is wrong.
Vice President Biden, infant care is more expensive than
They've gotten
in-state
these-
public college tuition in
these
more
debates
than
have
half
been
the country. Do you
sanitized.
support free universal infant
They're
care?
just- They're just like, we are not even going to acknowledge if you keep talking. Next question. If you keep talking, whatever.
I was a single
I
parent,
like that.
too.
I
When
do
my wife
genuinely
and daughter
like that. I
killed,
just wish their questions were
boys
less
I had
shit.
to raise. I
Sure.
was a senator, a young senator. I just hadn't been sworn in yet. And I was making $42,000 a year. I commuted every single solitary day to Wilmington, Delaware, over 500 miles a day, 250 miles a day, because I could not afford, but for my family, childcare. It was beyond my reach to be able to do it. And that's why there's several things we do. When I triple the amount of money for Title I schools,
See, like, he
every
lived
child
through it,
3,
but
4, and
he
5
gives the
years
wrong
old
way to
will,
solve
in
it.
fact, have full schooling. They'll go to school.
Because he has a
and
bit of the,
after-school
well, I did the
programs, which
hard
will
thing.
Release some of the burden. Secondly, I think we should have an $8,000 tax credit, which would put 7 million women back
Credit?
to work. They could afford to go to work and still
What?
care.
Tax-
for
well,
their
a credit- a tax credit is a thing.
Child care to let
I also
them
believe
have
that we
jobs
should,
so they
in
don't
fact,
have. Okay.
for
It'd be a way
people
to
who,
do
in
it
fact,
quickly and
are
just be like,
not
yo, here's
able
like $8,000 a year.
afford
There's your
any
child
health
Yeah,
care
yeah, yeah,
to be
yeah.
able to
It
get
was not
that
the
care.
smoothest
But
delivery, but I
Bernie's
get
right.
what he's
we have
saying.
to raise the salaries. of
That's
the
a
people
way
who are
to do it,
doing
I
the
guess.
care. And I provide for that as well.
Much better than a
My
tax
time is up, I know,
break,
but I'm not
because
gonna
tax
overlook
breaks mean
Mayor
nothing to people who are too
Buttigieg.
poor to actually pay any taxes.
Yeah.
Mayor Buttigieg,
Sorry, I
higher
missed a zing,
education
apparently.
is another huge expense for families.
Same.
You oppose free public college for all because you don't want to make it, quote, free for the kids of millionaires.
Fuck it.
But
Let
lots
the
of public
fucking
services are
privileged people
available
get
for
it
the
if it
kids of
helps
rich
everyone
people, like
else, for fuck's
libraries and
sake.
public schools.
Okay.
Why do you draw the line at public
Why
college
means
and
testing? Good
universities?
question, CNN.
Well, it's simple.
What's the point of
We
means
expect
testing?
and
You can go to
hope
public
for
school for free if you're a
everyone
millionaire.
To get through 12th grade. It's not the same for college. Now,
Wait,
again,
but Pete, it
I don't
is
want
now that for
cost ever
college.
to be a
You're
barrier
expected to go to
somebody
college.
seeking to attend college. And under my plan, it
Or
won't
trade
be.
school.
Matter of fact, for the first 80% of Americans by income, it is free at public
If millionaires are the ones funding everyone
if
else's
you're in
free
that
college,
top
why the
income
fuck shouldn't they
bracket,
be able to
don't get
use
me
the thing
wrong,
they're
I still
actually
wish you
paying
well.
for?
I hope you
They
succeed
pay for
when you
30
go to
kids to go to
college.
school,
I
and
just
if they
need you to go
really
ahead
want to
and
send their
pay
kid to
that
public
tuition,
university,
because
which
we
they
could be
aren't
using
going
those
to
dollars
anyway,
for
they're all going to go to
something else.
fucking Harvard or
There's a
some shit.
very real
Let them,
choice
whatever.
about what we do with
Go to the
every
fucking
single
University of
taxpayer dollar
Iowa
that we raise.
for free.
And we
Like,
need to be using that to support everybody,
Iowa
whether
State,
you go
let
to
'em go.
college or not. Making sure that Americans can thrive, investing in infrastructure, and something that hasn't come up
I
very
went
much
to
tonight,
college
but
with a
deserves
prince.
a lot of attention. Poverty. You know, the Poor People's Campaign is marching on Iowa right now, calling
Not a
on
joke,
us to talk
not an
about
exaggeration.
this issue more. They are driven by their faith. I think because even though in politics we're supposed to talk middle class, they know there's no scripture that says, as you've done unto the middle class, so you've done unto me. We got to be making sure that we target our tax dollars where they will make the biggest difference. And I don't think subsidizing
Thank you,
the children
moderators.
of millionaires and billionaires to
That was
pay
me.
absolutely zero in tuition
Thanks,
of public
Pepper.
colleges is the best
They
use
get
of
time
those
out.
scarce
Senator
10
Warren.
minutes.
So look, the way I think we need to do this is we need a wealth tax in America. We need to ask people with fortunes above $50 million to pay more. And that means that the lowliest millionaire that I would tax
Straight
under
to
this
you can't
wealth
just be
tax
screaming at
would
people
be
to
paying
fuck
about
off, though.
$19
Like,
million in the first year in taxes.
Give them
If
the
he wants to
opportunity to
send his
take the
kid to
low ground.
public
Don't just
university,
jump
then
out
I'm
there.
okay with that. Because what we really need to talk about is the bigger economic picture here. We need to be willing to put a wealth tax in place, to ask
Wealth
those
tax,
giant
yep.
corporations that are not paying to pay. Because
Why can't we have a
that's how
minimum
we build
tax
an
rate?
Economy, and for those who want to talk about
Minimum
it,
effective
break
tax
down
rate.
the
Bernie
national
not
debt.
said
You do universal child care, and you got a
like
lot of mamas who can go
a
to work.
money
A lot
cap?
of mamas who can finish their education. We make that investment in universal college.
Maximum
We've got
wage
a
sure would
lot of
be-
Senator
and
Klobuchar.
education.
Yeah, you know, I
This-
appreciate.
I wouldn't be against
your
it,
thoughts,
like-
Elizabeth, but I want to step back. I actually think that some of our colleagues who
based
want
on
free
how our
college
system
for all
works, having
aren't
that much
actually
money is
thinking big
immoral
enough.
because it undermines
I think what
democracy.
we have to look at is how we connect our education system with our economy. Where are our job openings and what do we need? We are going to have over 1 million openings for home healthcare workers that we don't know how to fill in the next 10 years. We are going to have
What are we
over
laughing at?
100,000
Oh, man,
jobs.
Klobuchar.
for
Pepper to
nursing
Biden,
assistants.
fuck you,
We,
next.
my union
Next.
friends know we're going to have
It's-
over
it's not-
70,000
it's not good
openings
tech-
for
it's not good
electricians.
technique.
We're not going to have a shortage of MBAs. We're going to have a shortage of plumbers. So when we look at that, then we step back. Where should our money go? It should go into K through 12. It should go into free 1- and 2-year degrees, like my dad got, like my sister.
Ooh, Quack Quack
Thank you,
Honk's
Senator
talking about a
Klobuchar.
maximum
Double the
wage
Pell Grants,
gap,
'cause we're
and I
gonna
kind
need
of
4
like
years.
that.
Senator
Where
Klobuchar.
whatever
Yeah,
your lowest
there's
employee and
local,
highest paid, like
Chicago printing
Mr.
company
Steyer, as a
where
billionaire,
the
should your
CEO could
children
only
have
at
been
most
entitled
make
to
11
free
times
public
as much
college?
as
the lowest paid?
paid.
No.
absolutely
And let me
seems
say this.
completely fair to
I was
me.
one of the people
Yeah,
who talked
I'm not
about a
saying
wealth
everyone
tax
has to make the same
almost
amount,
a year and a half ago.
but
Even
I
11
believe that
times,
the
like, prove you're doing
income
11 times the
inequality
work.
in this country is unbearable,
it's not even 11
unjust,
times the
and
work. It's
unsupportable.
if
And the redistribution of wealth,
the same
to the
amount of
richest
jobs are
Americans
not
from everyone
universally
else
available.
has
There are
to
only so
end.
many
And I
heads of
proposed
an
a wealth tax
organization you
almost
can
a year and a half
have.
ago to start to address it and to raise.
I mean,
some
my
of the money
ideal
that we
company
need.
would have
But I
leadership
wanna go
roles be in a
beyond this and go
rotation
back to
system.
this question about education.
And everything's
Because we
run
talk a lot about
democratically,
college,
and you all
but in
vote on
fact,
shit,
if you talk
and
about
you
the
get to
Poor
be the
People's
manager
Campaign,
for a bit,
have
and then
to
you
realize
stop, and then you
that
go
for
back.
the
Like,
youngest kids, they are getting an education that's relative to the taxes in their neighborhood.
I would like to think that would work, but there's a lot of groundwork and schooling of teaching your population on how to participate in that
yeah,
system.
that assumes everyone's on an equal footing, which we are not.
But like an education and emotional education system.
Oh yeah,
as well.
same way, same thing. This would mean everyone is truly on an even playing field.
In other words, what you're talking about is gay space communism.
It's some it's some actual communist how you would have to organize management in an actual communist society would be kind of sort of like that, where like if there's a position of management or overseeing, like they're always temporary. I mean, that's how you could do the police too, is people from the neighborhood who are willing and like able, like become the cops for like a year or two, and then you stop. And if you're fucking around, you'd stop a lot earlier. And you could like come back and do it again after a bit, but it's not treated like this special class of you're above the law and not like more than a citizen. I was like, nah, regular ass people are gonna do the like observe and report shit. And then, yeah, we're going to need a couple people to stop true, like, psychopath murderers. But there's really not that many of those, so it's not, like, a huge problem.
Asterisk, how much of that goes undiscovered because of the way policing is set up today?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't think the system I've described would be that much less effective at truly discovering and stopping crime than what we have now, even if everyone sucks at their job, because like the priority now does not really seem to be to prevent crime. It seems more to defend the property rights of very rich people.
High level, a hybrid system is the ability to rotate and hop around and get both intentional, spread out the experience to deal with, power creep, but then also to just have flexibility to your population to try different things. But I would also open it to, there are things that take many, like it's the 10,000 hours thing. It takes 5 dedicated years or more to become proficient in these more skilled areas.
Sure.
I'm not ignorant to the fact that it is very difficult. I don't want a rotation set for neurosurgeons.
Well, no. for highly skilled positions, yes. Like you wouldn't be rotating in and out like crime scene investigators. Like that's a profession where you've worked. But the people who just every day are just on the beat and reporting to like basic level shit.
Molly crime. It takes 10,000 hours to learn how to most effectively shoot unarmed black men.
I mean, they spend 10,000 hours figuring it out. So. Right above that, we have an even more controversial statement where Q is talking about Sheetz versus Wawa.
That I don't understand.
You're not from the right region. I very much prefer Sheetz overall to Wawa, but I think Wawa makes specifically better subs. Wawa sandwiches are very good, but like everything else, I'd rather it be a Sheetz.
Oh, we said sandwich wars are more controversial than studying to shoot unarmed black men. Gotcha.
Oh, okay, hold up. I'm gonna go pee again. Got 30 seconds left of this commercial. Here we go. Mostly, if you run the commercials, it stops your pre-roll ads from running. BRB. Oh, apparently the hoagies aren't that good anymore. Whatever. Fuck Wawa then.
All right. While this goes on, any of y'all got questions or what have you? Otherwise, I'm going to sip some delicious whiskey out of one of the glasses I inherited from one of my relatives. Cute little adorable thing. Should they outlaw plainclothed cops? First Squared, the convention that I am a co-founder of and now chair of, is February 14 to 16 in Brookfield, Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee. I, for the most part, don't believe in plainclothes cops. Just from a high level, that's a deception thing. However, if you were to take that to more of an extreme, how different is a plainclothes cop to, say, a whistleblower? Like, will there, even in a more ideal society, will there Democratic toilet stream? That'd be shitty. Huh? I don't know. Like, my gut reaction is to say, I don't think plainclothes cops or whatever, like, policing force of that kind should exist. But if they don't exist, then I want even better support for whistleblowers to fulfill that need. That's kind of where I'm at on it, because I really, really, really strongly believe in whistleblowers. And we are now on articles of impeachment questioning. Oh, lovely, because that's what I want to hear these people talk about. Good answer. I'm actually impressed. Avon, I can't control the audio for what Pepper did, so if y'all go to CNN.com, you can kind of hear it delayed. You'll hear us later.
Damn, these fuckers come back too fast.
We're talking about impeachment, and Biden actually gave the correct answer.
Oh, nice. What the fuck? I don't have sound.
Question is,
because we're finally at the point where the
It
Democratic
really
Party in
mattered whether or
general
not
has reached
he's
solidarity
gone
over
after me.
impeachment, so no
I'd
one's
fight,
really going
but
to
also
break
heal. And as
away
President
from
of the United
that.
States-
So I'm expecting all of their answers to be pretty similar
and as
at this
President of the United
point.
States, that's what I will
Yeah,
have
fuck
to
it.
do.
Also, people are saying no
Notwithstanding,
sound.
that'll
Oh,
be
it
this
must have
next
just
time.
come back.
Senator
I fixed it.
Klobuchar, you're going to be a juror in the trial in the Senate that's about to start. Do you worry President Trump will be emboldened by acquittal?
No, we have a
QQH,
constitutional
good.
duty to perform here. And when I look at what the issue is, it's whether or not we're going to be able to have witnesses. We've asked for
Don't
only
believe
4
anything I
people
say.
as witnesses. And if our Republican colleagues won't allow those witnesses, they may as well give the president a crown and a scepter. They may as well make him king.
Yeah, there's a
And
portion of the
last time I
population that
checked,
wants
our
that, and that
country
bothers
was
me.
founded on this idea that we didn't want to be ruled by a king. And I think the best
Conservative
way
values
to think about
line up
this
with
trial and what
monarchy.
we're facing in this election is a story.
He's president because
of a man
God
from
chose him to be
Primgar,
president.
Iowa. His name was Joseph Welch.
Wait,
He
wait, are
came
you
from
guessing
humble
my
beginnings, the
age
son
is
of immigrants.
55 or
He
56? I
became
turned
the
34
army
in a
president,
month.
and he was the one.
Although,
that
to
went
be
the
fair,
Joseph McCarthy.
I hope that
Draggor.
Patrick Stewart
And
this
when
shit for the next
McCarthy
40
was
years, so
blacklisting
sure.
people and going after
Draggor
people
was born in
because of their political beliefs or supposed
1971.
political belief, there was only one man
Then I would have
who
gotten to
was
see some pretty
afraid.
good fucking
They're afraid of being
concerts.
blacklisted.
Oh, man. Oh,
Joseph
yeah.
Welch, he stood up and looked at McCarthy and said, "Have you no sense of decency?"
Oh, remember,
sir?
Blue, he's already been
Have you
impeached.
no
The
sense of
trial's over
decency?"
removal.
This is a decency check.
He is impeached
on
and
our
will have been
government.
impeached forever
This
now.
is a
Like, you can't undo
patriotism
that.
check.
Like
Not only is
Clinton.
this trial that,
Thank you.
but also
Impeached
this
for life.
election. And no matter if you agree with everyone here on the stage, I say this
Thank
to
you, Senator
Americans.
Klobuchar.
You
Look,
know
Sif,
this
I'm
is a
not making fun of
decency check
your
on this
age. I'm
president.
making fun of the
Mr.
fact that
Steyer,
someone thought
you've spent millions and millions of dollars
Draggor was up
telling
to
the
20
American
years
people
older
that
than he
President Trump
actually is.
deserves to be impeached.
I
Will it have been
choose
worth
to
it if
interpret
he's
it
been
as a
impeached, but
compliment.
not
People have
removed
said it
from
like
office?
35 for the last
Well,
8
Wolf,
years.
Actually, what I've done is to organize a
Dude, I
petition
remember when we
drive
brought you to
of
First
8.5
Squared.
million
Everybody thinks I'm
Americans
40.
to sign and say this president deserves to be impeached and removed from office. And those 8.5 million people have called their Congress people, have emailed their Congress people, and have actually dragged
I would like to think of
Washington,
myself as
DC
timeless,
to
but my
see that, in
genetics say
fact,
otherwise.
This is a question of right and
unfortunate.
wrong and not of political expediency. So if you ask me whether standing up for what's right in America, standing up for the American people and our safety, standing up for the Constitution, whether doing that and trying to bring the truth in front of the American people in televised hearings so we can decide what the
Yo,
truth
I
is
genuinely,
for ourselves.
I
If
kind
you
of hope
think
that Pelosi
isn't
just
worth it, then
doesn't
you
send
don't
the
share
articles
idea
over
that
until
I do
after
about
the
what
election, because fuck
America's
them.
about.
There's no reason to. Like, all right, if Trump wins the election, sweet, we get to go after you in the Senate.
Senator Warren.
And if he doesn't, problem fucking
The
solved.
Senate trial is
Thanks
expected
for the
to keep you in
clarification,
Washington in the
silence.
weeks leading up to the Iowa caucuses.
I said
here. How big of a
timeless, not
problem
young.
is that for
Wow.
you as you're making your
Okay.
closing pitch
Chad
to
is
voters
brutal
here?
tonight.
Oh,
Something's
I
more
love this
important
shit.
than
This is
politics.
great.
I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. It says that no one is above the law. That includes the President of the United
That
States.
sucks,
We have an
PGH. She shouldn't have
impeachment
done
trial.
that.
I will be there because
No
it is
balls.
my responsibility. But understand this. What that impeachment trial is going to show, once again, to the American people, and something we should all be talking about, is the corruption of this administration.
Dr. Q
That's what
saw
lies at the
Stayer,
heart
and
of it.
apparently
It is about Donald
their
Trump
significant
putting
other's like,
Donald
wait, did
Trump first,
Bloomberg
not
shrink
the
in the
people,
wash?
Not the interests of the United States of America, not even in helping Ukraine defend against Russia. It is about him helping himself.
Roofaroo,
That is
I
what
agree. The
we
bread is
need
what makes
to
the
do
sandwich, and
to
that sucks
win
that they did
this
that at
election.
Wawa. How dare
we
they?
need to draw that distinction
Sheets-
and show
sheets for
that
life.
it's Democrats. We're not
Pepper,
gonna
I'm
be the
starting to
people
learn how to
who are
make
just
vegan and
out for the big
gluten-free bread, and
corporations,
it
people who
sucks,
wanna
but it's
help
delicious when it
themselves,
works.
That we are
No, I
going to
mean,
be the party
it
that
can
is
be
willing
fine.
to fight on the
You know what else
side
is
in
of
the ass
the
to
gluten free?
make.
You know what else is
That's
vegan
why
and
we're
gluten free?
Let's turn now to the
White
climate
Claw.
crisis.
What?
Here in Iowa, parts of the state remain
Your ass is
underwater
not
after
vegan, it's an
record-breaking
animal
flooding
product.
began last spring. racking up an estimated $2 billion.
Eating
in
ass is
damages.
not vegan.
Today, many islands are still displaced from their homes. Mayor
Heard it here
Buttigieg,
first,
you've talked
folks.
about
Eating
helping
ass
people
is
move
not
from
vegan.
areas at high
It
risk
can't
of
be.
flooding.
It can't be vegan.
But
Neither
what do
is
you do about
neither is
farms and
jizz.
factories
That's
that simply
definitely
can't be
not
used?
a
That's
vegan
why we
thing.
have to fight climate
Sorry,
change
everyone. If
with
you
such
swallow, you
urgency.
can't be vegan.
Climate change has come
Cheers.
to America from coast to coast. Seeing it in Iowa.
Wait.
We've seen it
It's
in
vegan if
historic
it's
floods in my
consensual?
community. I had to activate our emergency operations center for once in a millennium flood.
Well, by that,
Then 2 years
in that
later,
case,
had to
milk
do
is also
the same
fucking
thing.
not vegan,
In
and
Australia,
so
there
are
are
eggs.
literally
Right, those are
tornadoes
vegetarian.
made of
Cows
Vegan
enjoy
is
being
no animal
milked.
products.
taking place.
If you don't milk a
This is
cow, they'll
no
fucking
longer
die.
theoretical. This is no
Yeah, but if
longer
you don't
off in the
domesticate the
future.
cow,
We've got
then
to
the
act,
calves
yes, to
suck
adapt,
on them
to make
titties
sure
and
our
it's fine.
communities are more resilient,
yeah,
to make
but-
sure our economy is
I
ready
can't
for
believe
the
I just fucking
consequences
said that.
are going
All right.
to happen one way or the other.
Consensual
But we also
veganism.
have to ensure that we don't allow this to
Okay,
get
no,
any worse.
sorry, Pete
And if we
Buttigieg
get
is
it right,
talking. Oh,
farmers
we
will
should
be a
pay
huge
attention.
part of the solution.
No,
We
Pete
need to
Buttigieg
reach
is
out
talking.
to the
Let's
very
not pay
people who have
attention.
sometimes been made to feel that
booty.
accepting climate science would
Oh,
be
that
a
look on
defeat for them.
Steyer was
Whether
amazing.
we're talking about farmers or industrial workers in my community, and make clear that we need to enlist them
But Mayor
in the
Buttigieg,
national project to do something
To
about this.
clarify, what do you do about farms and factories that cannot be relocated?
We are going to have to use federal funds to make sure that we are supporting those whose lives will inevitably be impacted further by the increased severity and the increased frequency.
Man, Bernie,
And by
oh,
the way,
Stayer's smiling.
that is
What's
happening to
happening?
farms,
Look at him.
That is happening to factories, and that
Stayer
disproportionately
looks like
happens to black
a
and
young
brown
man. He's like,
Americans, which is
hey,
why
he's got
equity
something
and
to say.
environmental justice have to be at the core of our climate
Thank
plan
you,
going
Mayor
forward.
Buttigieg. Mr.
Yeah,
Steyer,
triple
what's your
paw looks at
response?
Pete. Yeah, he does.
Look, what you're talking about is what's called managed retreat.
He's so ready.
It's basically
He's like,
saying
I got
we're
this.
going to have to move things because this crisis is out of control and it's unbelievably expensive. And of course, we're going to come to the rescue of Americans who are in trouble. But this is why climate is my #1 priority. And I'm still shocked that I'm the only person on this stage who
He
will
keeps
say
saying
this.
that, but
I
Bernie
would
says
declare
the
a
same
state
fucking
of emergency
thing.
on
Like,
day 1 on climate.
See, Bernie's
Give-
opening his
give
mouth like,
Bernie the credit.
I would do it from the standpoint of environmental justice and
Oh,
make
clap,
sure
and
we
they
go
stopped.
to the black and brown communities where you can't breathe the air or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely. But I also know this. We're going to
Stay
create
here,
millions
man.
of
Like,
good-paying union jobs.
Dude, did you
across
hear what
this
he just
country.
said? We're gonna
It's
create
gonna
millions
be
of
the biggest job
union
program in American
jobs.
history. So
Stayer,
I know
as a
we
rich
have to do
person,
it. I know we
how did
can do
unions
it,
factor
and
into
I
all the
know
money
that
you
we can
have?
do it in a way that makes us healthier, that makes us better paid, and is
What
more
if
just.
he's a billionaire
But
and
the truth of the
supported
matter is,
unions?
we're going to have to do
I mean,
it.
it's
and we're gonna have
possible,
to
it's
make
just
the
less
whole world
common.
Come along with us, and it's going to have
Mr.
to be
Steyer?
priority 1.
Mr. Steyer, to clarify, you say you're the climate change candidate, but you made your $1.6 billion in part by investing in coal, oil, and gas. So are you the right messenger on this topic?
I absolutely am.
Yeah.
Look, we invested
like,
in
I'm
every part of
reformed.
the economy, and over 10 years ago, I realized that there was
Yeah,
something
like,
going on that
I
had
realized
to do
shit was
with
bad,
fossil
and I had to
fuels that we had to change. So I divested from fossil fuels. I
Good.
took the giving pledge to give most of my money away while
Oh,
I'm
he
alive.
did?
And for 12
Great.
years,
Oh,
I've
that's a
been
big deal.
fighting the climate crisis. I've beat oil
Yo, I'm
companies
sorry to
in
say,
terms of
but we
clean air
must
laws.
now stand
I've stopped
Steyer.
fossil fuel plants in Oxnard, California.
I've been saying this since I
fought
first
the
heard this
Keystone
fucker
Pipeline.
talk.
I have
Every
a
debate,
history
I
of
keep
over
waiting for him to
a decade
disappoint
of
me.
leading the climate fight
Thank you, Mr.
successfully.
Steyer.
So
Steyer,
actually,
drop out,
yes,
endorse
I
Bernie.
am the person here
Endorse
who
Bernie.
has
He'll do all the
job
shit
and
you
the
want him to do.
history that
Like,
says, I'll
Yeah.
make it priority 1 because I've been doing
well,
it for a
sorry,
long
he'll do
time.
all the
Thank
shit
you,
you
Mr.
want to
Steyer.
get
Senator
accomplished.
Warren.
Bernie's on the same
President
page.
Trump is
Like,
rolling back
I
major
think it is
environmental
valuable to
rules
have a
allow
billionaire on
pipelines
this
and other
stage
major
telling Americans
infrastructure
that as a
projects to be
billionaire,
built
like,
without strict
how I got here
environmental
is wrong.
review.
is yeah, I
Will you
think this was
restore those
unethical.
protections and
I'm not
in a
going to give
way
the money.
that the
Well,
next
actually, he said he
president
would give the
can't
money back
overturn?
eventually.
Yes.
Yes.
Climate change threatens every living thing on this planet.
Clean the
And
air with
urgency of
Tom
the
Steyer.
moment cannot be
Thank you,
overstated.
Steyer.
She'll do everything a president can do all by herself on the first day. I will roll back the environmental changes that Donald Trump has
Roll
put
back
in
the
place.
rock to the
I will
dawn of
stop all
time
new
and
drilling
sing
and
this song
mining
with
on federal lands and offshore drilling. That'll help us get in the right directions. I'll bring in the
Name that
farmers.
musical.
Farmers can be part of the climate solution. We should see this, though, for the problem it is. Mr. Steyer
People talk
talks
about farmers
being
like there's more than
problem number
600
one.
total farmers in the whole
Understand
fucking
this. We have
country
none
anymore.
About this
Like,
climate crisis for decades.
So it's
back in the
in terms of people
1990s,
doing
we were
it,
calling it global warming,
there's that,
we knew
but
what
then
it
there's
was.
the
Democrats
environmental and land
Republicans back then
implications
were working together
that
because
it doesn't
no
matter
one
how many
wanted
people
a
are
problem.
participating in it.
You know what
They're
happened?
not doing proper
The
farming
industry
techniques, and
came
they're
in
actually
and
ruining
said,
soil
"We
and
can
massive
make
plots of
big
land.
money if we keep them divided and make no change." Priority number one has to be taking back our government from the corruption. That is the only way we will make progress on climate, on gun safety, on health care, on
Thank you,
all
Senator
of the
Let's
issues
ask
that
Devin
Senator
Nunes
Thomas-
about farming.
Some of your competitors
PGH
on this
is on to
stage
me.
have called for an all-out
I
ban on
don't
fracking.
get that,
You
unfortunately.
haven't.
Devin
Why
Nunes,
not?
Republican agent who runs
first of all, I
in his
would note
home
that I
like
have
area as a
100%
quote unquote farmer,
rating
but he's
from
so
the League
not.
of
He's just been like a
Conservation
rich guy
Voters,
with
and
rich
that
parents
is
for a really,
because
really long
Oh,
time.
I know
good
this
call
asshole.
on
Yeah, the
every
Devin
issue
Nunes
that
cow
we've talked
Twitter
about
was
up
he's
here
like, this is
when it
harassment.
comes
I'm gonna
to
like
this
sue
administration,
the owner
this
of
Trump
the cow.
administration, trying to reverse environmental protections. I think it is
Devin
going to
Nunes.
lead to so many problems, and one thing that hasn't been raised, by the way, is the rules on methane,
Why hasn't
which is actually
Klobuchar
one of
called
the
for
most
an all-out
environmentally
ban on
dangerous
fracking?
hazards that
Because
they have
she's a
recently embarked
fan
on, and I would bring those rules
the
back
Cylon
as well
show,
as
Battlestar
a number of
Galactica.
other ones.
Where's she
when
from?
It comes to,
Where's Klobuchar
the
from?
issue
Like,
of
who's she
fracking,
represent?
I actually see
Somewhere
natural gas
Midwesty.
as a transition fuel. It's a transition fuel to where we get to carbon neutral.
Bernie's like,
Nearly every one of us
Absolutely
has
not.
a plan
Minnesota.
that is very similar, and that is to get to carbon neutral. by
Minnesota big on
2045
It's not
to
the biggest
2050,
fracking. That's
to
kind of
get
the
to, by
Appalachians right
2030,
now,
to a
but
45% reduction.
But in
And
terms
I wanna
of,
add
like,
one thing
percent
that
of
no one's really answered. When we
money
do
and
this,
jobs for that
we have
region,
to
is it
make
still highly
sure,
impactful, even
that
if
we
it's
make
not
people
like
whole.
Last
countrywide?
I was checking on
tax
fracking. I
on
lived in
carbon,
Pennsylvania. They're
which
talking about
we
how
will do
Virginia was
either
just getting
through
fucking
cap and trade or
destroyed.
through a renewable electricity standard.
Yeah, have you
or
seen
through a fee on carbon.
you, Senator
sludge?
We have to
Klobuchar.
make
I
sure
wanna
that
let
I mean, it's
money
all these
goes back to
mountaintops.
the
They're just
people
flat now, and you
that
can't
will
even
be
build
hurt
anything
by
there
it.
because
Thank you,
Help
Senator
it's
build
not
Klobuchar.
fucking
bills and
stable
to
enough.
bring jobs to areas that will lose jobs.
Senator Sanders.
Thank you.
I am from a place where your water can catch on fire depending on where you live. Just
If
fracking.
we as a nation do not transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, not by 2050, not by 2040, but unless we lead the world right now, not easy stuff.
Even China's starting to
The
figure it out because they
planet
went,
we
oh
are
shit,
leaving
we're all
our
going to
kids
die.
will be
Yeah.
uninhabitable and unhealthy. We are seeing Australia burning. We saw California
Australia?
burning.
I'm counting that
The
drink.
drought here in Iowa is
Okay.
going to make it harder for farmers to produce the food that we need. This is, of course, a national crisis. I've introduced legislation to indicate it's a national crisis. We have got to take on the fossil fuel industry and all of their lies and tell them that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet.
Silence
That's what
is
the
saying,
Green
"I drink your
New Deal
milkshake" is
does.
still happening.
That's what my legislation
Yeah,
does,
totally.
and that is what we have to do.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Frack off.
My response is back in 1996.
They asked us if they could frack on our property. Let's just say my parents' property in Pennsylvania. And
They
they're
said
like,
it was
nah.
a game changer. I've been fighting this for a long time. I headed
Hello,
up
Drag
the
It
Recovery
Show.
Act, which
Welcome.
put more
Hey,
money
Drag It Show, what's
into
going on?
Fossil,
I'm assuming
moving
that's
away
Xander.
from fossil fuels
Probably.
to
Hope
enter
so.
to solar. and
Gov Wolf,
wind
honorary
energy
furry. Yeah,
than
Dr.
ever has
Q.
occurred in the
Wolf
history
is
of
fine.
America. Look,
His
what we have to do is
vice,
we have to act right
sorry,
away.
his lieutenant
And the way we
governor,
act right away is
Fetterman,
immediately,
is fucking
if I'm
great.
elected president, I'll reinstate all the mileage
Fetterman's this big
standards that
biker guy who
existed
just
in our
talks about how weed
administration,
should be legal
which were taken
constantly.
Down. That's 12 billion gallons of
That's kind of his whole platform.
Barrels of gasoline to be saved immediately. And with regard to those folks who, in fact, are going to be victimized by what's already happened, we should be investing in infrastructure that raises roads, makes sure that we're in
Raises
a position
roads
where
for the floods
we
that are
have-
coming by the
that
fracking I
every new
support.
highway built is a green highway, having 550,000 charging stations. We can create, and this is where I agree with Tom, we can create millions of good-paying
By
jobs.
destroying the
We're
environment.
the only country in the world that's ever taken great
All right,
crisis
everybody, you got
and
about
turned it
10
into
minutes
great
to get in a big
opportunity.
fight and make this
And
debate
one of
worth
the ways
watching.
to do it is with farmers
Xander,
here in
quick,
Iowa
plug
by
Drag It
making
Show
them the
links.
first group
Yeah,
in
please
the
do.
world to get to net zero emissions by paying them for planting and absorbing carbon in their fields right away. There's more to say, but I know.
A key part of your mission in this primary is going to be to prove to Democratic voters that you're strong
I love watching
enough to take
Biden
on
cede his
Donald
time.
Trump.
It's a strategy.
Each of you face unique challenges in doing
I'm out of
that.
time.
Mayor Buttigieg, you say you've had trouble earning the support of black voters because you're unknown. But you've been campaigning for a year now, and polling shows you with next to no black support.
Somebody give me some money.
Is it possible that black voters have gotten to know you and have simply decided to choose
Husky, I'm
another
excited for when the rallies start
The
coming to
black
Arizona.
voters who know me best are supporting me. It's why I have the most support in
You'll
South
see him.
Bend.
It's a good time.
It's
in
why
Montana.
among elected black officials in my community who have gotten into this race, by far most of them are supporting me. And now, nationally, I am proud that my campaign is co-chaired by a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and to have support right here in Iowa from some of the most recognizable black elected leaders, from Mayor Hart of Waterloo to
All 12
former
black
Representative
residents of
Berry
Iowa
in
support
Black
me.
Hawk County. Now, the biggest mistake we could make is to take black votes for granted, and I never will. The reason I have
Yes,
the
Booty,
support
you're
I
not going
do
to
is
get any
not
of them,
because
so you can't
any
take them for
voter thinks
granted.
that I'm
Somebody give me some
Stopper, you ever watch Bullworth?
PGH Fur, thank you very much for the $5. I truly
from the
appreciate
luxury
it.
Of,
Sorry, what?
Of a debate or a
You ever watch the
television
movie
panel or a
Bullworth?
committee room, but on the ground. Issues from poverty
With fucking
to
Chris Farley?
justice in policing.
No.
I'm proud to say we've
What
been
movie is
nationally
this?
recognized for our work as a race-informed city on delivering greater economic
It's a
justice.
Warren
We've
Beatty
reduced
political
use
movie
of
that's
force by leading
fascinating.
the region in
Oh, then no.
transparency around the use of force in policing. Of course, there is a much longer way to go in my community
Not
and around
without
the
its
country.
race
But I will
issues.
be a president whose
Hello,
personal
Quasi
commitment
Kaiju.
is to
Please judge us
continue
judging
doing this
politics.
work.
We are absolutely the
Senator
laymen.
Sanders, you call
our
yourself
opinion.
It's a quasi-kaiju.
But more than
The name's
two-thirds of
Quasi
voters say
Kaiju.
they are not
That's like
They
me.
only
I'm
like
like
20
a
feet
little bit of
tall.
a monster.
Doesn't that
Not
put
quite
your
big enough.
chances of beating Donald Trump at risk?
Oh, here we go.
Nope, not at all. And that is
Oh, being a socialist. Here we go.
because the campaign that we are going to run will expose
Expose.
the fraudulency of who
Expose.
Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is
Expose
corrupt.
the
He is a
fraudulency.
pathological liar, and he is a fraud.
Fraudulency, that's a big word.
Now,
Drink.
when Trump talks about socialism, what he talks about is giving hundreds of billions of dollars in tax
Thank
rates and
you for
subsidies. to the
following me.
Donald Trump is a businessman, received $800 million.
Don't call him a
in tax
businessman.
rates
He's
and
never been
subsidies
successful at
to build
anything.
luxury
He fails
housing.
upward.
My democratic socialism says health care is a human right. We're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Yeah, it's
We're
gotta
gonna
go to
make
20 now,
public
Bernie.
colleges
15 's
and
not even enough
universities
anymore.
tuition-free. We're going to have a Green New Deal and create up to $20 million saving the planet for our children and our grandchildren. We are going to take on the greed
20 million jobs,
and
he meant.
corruption of the pharmaceutical industry and the insurance company. That is what democratic socialism is about, and that will win this election.
Mr. Steyer, you've spent more than
right.
$100 million of your own dollars.
Steyer's smiling
on
again. Look at him.
television ads. How do you convince voters?
Look
that
at
you're
Jack
more than
Skellington
just
over here. He's going to say some shit.
Look, we know how Donald Trump is going to run for president. He's going to run on the economy. He's already told Americans last month in Florida,
Tom Woodchuck
you don't
Steyer.
like me and I don't like you, but you're all going to vote for me because the Democrats are going to destroy the economy in 15 minutes if they get in control. So let's be clear. I started a business by myself in one room. I didn't inherit a penny from my parents. I spent 30 years building that business into a multi-billion-dollar international business. Then I walked away from it and took the Giving Pledge and started organizing coalitions of ordinary Americans to take on unchecked corporate power. But whoever is
I'm
going
a
to
good
beat Mr. Trump is going
billionaire.
to have to
You
beat him on
can
the
trust
economy,
me.
and I have the experience and the expertise
But I mean,
to show that he's a
he
fake
hasn't
there
fucked
and
up
a
yet.
fraud. Look,
I like what he
Mayor
says.
Pete
I'm
has
sorry.
3 years as an analyst at
It's
McKinsey.
good.
I have 30 years of international business experience. I can beat Trump on the economy. We're going to have to beat him on the economy, and I look forward to taking him down in the
I'm
fall.
fascinated
on
to
the
see where
debate stage.
Steyer's gonna
You
like
demoted me. I
land
was
at the
actually
end
an
of
associate,
this.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
It was not.
Oh,
it's
Steyer's
not
smiling.
the
Look at
biggest
him.
part of my career, but I am.
This
ready
is the
to
most
take
human
on this
he's looked on
president
any of
I
these
know.
stages.
Looks like a
because I
normalized.
am from
Well,
the exact kind of industrial
Well, that's not
Midwestern
normal.
community that he pretends to speak to, and has proven to turn his back on. And
yeah, Buttigieg
guided
worked
that
for like a
community
big
through
money
historic
consulting
transformation when at
firm
the
for a
beginning
long
of the
time where he
decade
did a bunch of
I
evil
took
shit.
office, we were described as a dying city. I'm ready to take on Donald Trump because when he gets to the tough
Donald
talk
Trumpus
and the chest thumping, he'll have to stand next to an American war veteran and explain how he pretended bone spurs made him ineligible to serve. And if he keeps trying to use religion,
Rip K, yeah, if Steyer says that, fuck
like
yeah.
Donald Trump keeps trying to use religion to somehow recruit Christianity into the GOP. I will be standing
Anybody
there
who believes a
not afraid
single
to
word
talk
Trump says about
a
religion
different
is
way to
already
answer
so
the call of faith
fucking
and
brainwashed.
insist that
Like,
God does not belong
Shall we rewind
to,
to the
political
upside
party.
down
I'm ready
pride
to
flag
take
he
on this
held?
president on every
what
front.
the fuck? He's so bad at it, and people still buy it because they just want to. Like, they want to buy it.
And even
So
tonight, you've dismissed some of the ideas that are offered in this primary as pipe dreams.
Silence. I do hope Steyer ends up somewhere
with a message of pragmatism?
in the Democratic Party based on what he keeps saying.
Yeah, sure.
Our voters,
Fucking run for
actually all
Congress.
Americans, have seen now
Be a governor,
number
be a
of
mayor.
years of a guy that has, I
He
think,
seems
told over
at least-
15,000
Seems
lies.
like better than most.
He is someone that literally has a
15,000
rap sheet
lies.
of divisive rhetoric.
It's like
And
an
I
anime
think
character.
What Americans want is something different. I am going to be able to
Trumpkin,
stand
I have seen your
across from
15,000
him on that
lies.
debate stage and say,
He's not the
"My
second
friend in
coming.
Iowa,
He's the one that's going to
Midwest
usher
is
in
not
the
flyover
rapture."
country for me. I live here. I'm going to be able to look at him and say, you've treated these workers and
When did
farmers
Christianity become we
like
hate
poker
brown people?
chips. For me, these are my friends. and
Christianity,
these
the religion
are
based
my
around the
neighbors.
Syrian
I'm gonna
immigrant
be able to look at him and say, you know what?
known as
you got
Jesus
$413
Christ.
million over the course of your career. That's how you built your fortune. And what I'm
Emperor
going to say is this. My
Constantine's
grandpa
conversion to
worked 1,500
Christianity.
feet underground in the iron ore mine, saved money in a coffee can in the basement to send
That
my
fucker
dad
was
to a
brown,
two-year
too, by
community
today's
college.
standards.
That's my family trust.
Yeah, but back
And when
then,
you
the
have been
Overton
given
brown
an
window
opportunity like that, you
was.
go
Well,
into the
when they
world
came up
not
with like
the sense of
Caucasians,
entitlement
Syrians
Donald
were still
Trump's-
considered
Donald
very
Trump,
white, and that's
but
just
with
I
it's
know.
like
sense
it just
of
lets you know how much
obligation.
bullshit
Senator
like
Warren,
any
what
of
do you
this
say
even
to voters
what
who
white
like your
even
policies,
is.
but
Like
they're worried they
it
will
changes
scare
from
away
year to
swing
year.
voters you need to
Are
win this
Jews
race in
white?
November?
So
Depends on the
I was
decade.
born and raised in Oklahoma. I have
Depends if you
3
can
older
tell if they're
brothers. They're all retired.
That
They're all
too,
back
like-
there still. And 2 of my 3
God,
brothers.
why did
are
I say that out
Republicans.
loud? Fuck.
Tell you what, to
There are a lot
most of
things we
4chan,
disagree
Bernie
on. We
Sanders
can
is not
take dark
white.
corners and do the
Right?
Democratic, Republican talking points. But the truth
Smart
is, there's a
anime guy
whole
with the
lot we
glasses
agree
shine.
on.
I agree. Because you guys got to like,
She's furious
"Shing, you think
over
the economy is
Chevron
based on
and
like
Eli Lilly and Amazon that are giant corporations make billions
Dude,
of dollars
I
in
got
taxes,
LASIK
make
like
billions
7
of dollars
years
in
ago, and
profit
the other day I
and
just
pay
pushed my
nothing in
glasses
taxes.
up on my
My brother
nose.
said, I don't get this.
That
I have
weren't
to pay
there.
my taxes.
I swear
Somebody
in my
has to
head it's
keep the
like,
roads paved and the schools
I
open,
got laid like
pay for
7
our
years ago.
vets. They understand.
That's
that
what my
we
Yes,
in
I'm a
America
Vulcan.
right now, that's
Han
working
Far,
great
thank you very much.
for those
I'm
at
due.
the top. It's just not working for anyone else. We have a chance to unite as Democrats, but also with independents and Republicans who are sick of living in a country that's working great for the politicians that are taking the money. It's working great for the lobbyists. It's working great for the corporate executives.
Peace,
It's
Steyer.
just not working for everyone else. I'm building the grassroots movement, leading the fight. We're going to make this America work for everyone else. That is how we're going to beat Donald Trump.
Vice President Biden, the eventual nominee will face President Trump, who has no problem
Be
mocking
stayers.
people,
Be
using insulting
stayers.
nicknames, slinging
Yup.
mud, and telling lies. The debate against him will make tonight's debate look like child's play. Are you prepared for that?
I am prepared for that. Look, I've been the object of his affection now more than anybody
All
else.
right, that
on
was
the stage.
fucking good. Drink.
I've taken all the hits he can deliver, and I'm getting better in the polls, my going up. And by the way, I have overwhelming support.
You're not
from the
going up,
African
Biden. You started the race at
Overwhelming, more than
50%
everybody
support.
else
Now you're
in
like
this
20.
operation,
What the
number one.
fuck?
Number two, working class people, where I come from in Pennsylvania,
See, I've never
the
seen
places I
One
come
Punch
from in
Man.
Delaware, I have great support. I have support across the board. And I'm
Oh,
not
I
worried
just
about
finished season
taking
2 of
on
One
Donald
Punch
Trump
Man.
at all. And
Watch
with
season
regard
1.
to the economy, I
It's
can
the
hardly wait to have that
anti-anime
debate
that is
with
also the
you.
best
Where I come
anime.
from, the neighborhoods
Action
If I
anime, I
watch
should
it,
say.
am I going to want to do the costume?
Working class
Oh
people,
yeah,
middle
definitely.
class
It's so
people.
easy.
Middle class
Saitama,
does
you just
well.
got to put on the
Working
fucking.
class has a
It's
way
a
up,
ones.
and
You
the
put on the
wealthy do
thing with the
well. But
cape.
what's
Your
happening
cosplay
now?
is
They're
done.
being
It's
clobbered.
so
They're
easy.
being killed.
And I
Gloves,
could
now have
thing,
punch a
cape.
bulge,
situation where
apparently.
if they, the vast
That's
majority
one
believe their
bulge,
children will
man.
never
Just put a
reach the
fist
stage
over
that
your
they
crotch.
They've reached an economic security. I love that debate because the American public is getting clobbered. The wealthy are the only ones doing well, period. I'm looking forward to the economic debate.
We'll be right back with more.
The economic.
All right, how much longer is this shit going on for?
Oh, it's done. They're coming back. They're gonna do closing statements and leave.
Good.
Yeah, we about done, everybody.
All right, throw some questions at us really quick while we're on break.
Yeah, by all
chat,
means, I'm
and
not gonna
we'll
go
get to them.
and pee. I'm gonna hit an ad because only 2 of you are even gonna see it, and it gets me like 0.01 cents. All right, let's see. I'm looking at the chat now. Trump loves Biden. Biden loves Trump. I think Biden is like an ideal Republican in the year 2020. I genuinely wish that the competition was between Biden as a Republican and whoever the fucking Democrat. Like, because he does most of the shit Republicans like. Because I genuinely believe he's like an 80s Republican. That's
Go
what
far
he wants
enough
to do.
back, and I don't have as much problems with Republicans.
Well, it's all relative, though. I don't think Biden is the Democratic. Well, I mean, I don't like comparing anybody to that guy because, like, Biden has been around. Like, I think Biden's goals are just not pure, but I think his goal really is to improve the country and to like make. Where Trump's entire goal is just self-enrichment, and it's been blatantly that since day -1. Like since 1995 when he was joking about running. It's always been about pouring money into his own companies. Now, I don't want to monopolize the conversation. Triple Paw, I do look forward to seeing you at FC. That'll be a good time. You'll be able to stay for the AD show. Does that mean you're over 18 or over 21, or you just like have scheduled that you can finally get there? Yes, Raspberry Wolf.
Sanders
I do
Warren
believe.
Ticket. I don't think a Sanders Warren ticket would ever happen.
It is not going to happen.
Age.
Absolutely not. Well, not even just age, just like there's a power dynamic to the because people realize the VP is basically a nothing job. If you actually become the VP, it's nothing. Like you don't actually get any kind of power. So I can't imagine either candidate ceding enough power. Like Sanders wants to keep being the Vermont senator. If he loses, he wants to be the senator from Vermont. Like he can do more
Same with
there
Warren.
than his VP. She wants to be the senator from Massachusetts, like forever in theory.
I think some other folks were saying Steyer aiming for a cabinet position. I think he would do that before being a running mate.
I don't even want him in cabinet. Cabinet is like what you get for being rich, and I don't like that. I want him to actually be in an election and win or lose. I think he should run for mayor, governor, Senate, Congress, anything. Like run for something. I don't like the idea of him being appointed to something because that's what he's used to, is being appointed. Like let him fucking win an election or not.
So, okay, let's play the what if game. Let's extrapolate. If Steyer continues to say and do the things as he has demonstrated in these debates, he perhaps could have a positive influence through a cabinet position because in those positions, he is a billionaire. So that's the part that I find fascinating is he has a weird history and level of influence, but says the things I want to hear.
I just want to see him win an election. If he's that great, he can win an election. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. He's got name recognition. He's been in national TV for like 12 times now. Like,
I mean, if Bloomberg can go buy whatever he bought in New York, then Steyer can go do it.
Yeah, Christ. Buy some ads. Put your shit on TV. I mean, the only obstacle are his ideas, and I like his ideas, so go win an election.
Steyer is more important to be not necessarily an ambassador, but should stay domestic because that's where he understands the most of the problems of corporations owning and running the government.
Yeah, I do hate putting corporate people in charge of corporations, though, because I don't fucking trust them. Like, they renege real fast as soon as they're around their, like, rich clique again of like, we're all billionaires here. Fuck everyone else. Like, it's like someone said in the chat earlier, the rich have class solidarity fucking locked down. Rich people close ranks and vote for whoever and push whatever agenda, and they get their shit done because they have the resources to do it.
Like, if Steyer is the ultimate sleeper agent, then fuck me sideways.
Yeah, that's what people kept saying about Trump. They're like, oh no, he's just fucking around. Once he gets in office, he's going to do all this good stuff.
The difference, however, is Trump never stuck to any particular script. He would change what he said for any audience with the change of wind. Steyer has been remarkably consistent.
All right, we back.
All right, here we go.
Yes, I agree. But at the same time, Trump said he was a Democrat in the 90s, so
Senator Klobuchar, let's begin with you.
Donald Trump thinks this is all about him. I think it's about you. It's not about his
stop talking about him.
or his tweets or even his
Klobuchar
ego.
has mentioned that
It is
fucker's name more
about
than
your
anyone else, I
healthcare.
think.
No.
It is about your
was
schools.
bad.
It is about your lives and your future. So if you want to do something about racial justice and immigration reform and
Would
climate
AOC
change
take a
and
VP
gun
nom? I
safety,
don't think so.
we need a candidate who is actually going to bring people with her.
She's too young. She's
I
doing
have
shit
won
in her
every
own district.
race, every place, every time.
She could be president in 30
I have gotten the
years.
highest voter turnout in
I
the
hope she is.
country when I've led the ticket. I
As
have
long as
passed
she doesn't,
more
you know,
bills
get
as the
corrupted
lead
along the way.
Democrat
Yeah, doesn't fuck up.
than anyone
She's like
who's
she is
in
now.
Congress
Hell.
that's running for president.
Well,
Nah,
I would
she's
like
been
to
I
think.
poor.
believe
She's been
that
poor
we
for a really
need
long time, and
president
that seems to be
who's
what it
gonna look
takes.
out for you.
Yeah.
It is easy to hurl insults. It is easy to draw lines in the
Yeah,
sand
doing
and
the
sketch out
contracting
grand
thing taught me a lot of
ideological
life
sketches
lessons.
that will never
Because
see
I
the
was not
light of
successful
day.
at it.
What is hard is bringing people together and finding common ground instead of scorched earth. What is hard is the work of governing. So if you are tired of the extremes in our politics and the noise and the nonsense, you have a home.
Amy
with
Orange
me.
Man, bad
Join me at amyklobuchar.com.
Basically,
Steyer.
yes. Run to the center,
Are going to
Klobuchar.
caucus within 3 weeks. And I want to tell you how I feel about the American people. Look,
I'm
played
terrified of the
team sports
American
my
people right
entire
now,
life.
Stayer, to be
The bond
honest.
between teammates is deep and emotional.
We're gonna
and
fuck
full
this
of
up
love.
again, aren't
And
we?
As far as I'm concerned, the American people are my teammates. And if there's one thing I will not permit, it is someone to run down the field and kick my teammate.
Ah,
in
you
the
should have
face.
said the balls.
And that is exactly what I've seen
Or
over the
genitals,
last
to
7
be more
years,
generic.
traveling around this country, seeing these Republicans led by Mr. Trump.
I want Sterile
basically
Steyer to
kicking the
say
American
genitals.
people in the face. I am prepared to take on Mr. Trump on the debate
I like
stage
how he says
and
Mr.
take
Trump,
him
too.
down
What a
on the
fuck you.
economy. But I am asking for your support because I know that if I'm going to be a good teammate to you and give you absolutely everything without any compromise, I need the support of you on caucus night so I can turn around and together we can take back this country and together we can save the world.
What if
Mayor
Steyer
Buttigieg.
came out and said, I will only
This
ever
is our
accept
moment.
one term as
This is
presidency
our
to right the
one
ship?
shot to defeat Donald Trump, and to do it by such a big margin that we send Trumpism into the dustbin of history too. But we
I don't
cannot
know.
take the risk with so much on the line.
Are we going to beat
of
Trump
trying
so
to
hard that
confront
fascism
this
goes away
president
forever?
with the same Washington mindset and political warfare that led us to this point? If you were watching this at home and you were exhausted by the spectacle of division and dysfunction, I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. If you're seeing the president boast about the Dow Jones, wondering whether any of that will ever get to your kitchen table, join me. If you're a voter of color, feeling taken for granted by politics,
I will
as
fire
usual,
the person that
join
supports
me.
you.
If you're used to voting for the other party, but right now cannot look your kids in the eye and explain this president to them, join me. We have a chance to change all of this if we can summon the courage to break from the past. That is why I am running for president. It is why I am asking you to caucus for me on February 3rd, and I hope that you will go to PeteForAmerica.com and join me in this effort.
Senator Warren.
So much is broken in this country. I sat here in the break and just made notes about many of the things we didn't get to talk about tonight. How the disability community is struggling for true equality.
Comes Warren.
How gun violence and active shooter drills worry every mother in this
Say
country.
parent.
How children are living in poverty and seeing their life chances shrink. How trans women, particularly trans women of color, are at risk. Black infant mortality, climate change that particularly hits Black and brown communities. People who are being crushed by student loan debt, farmers who are barely holding on, people struggling with mental illness. And yet I come here tonight with a heart filled with hope. And it's filled with hope because I see this as our moment in history. Our moment when no one
Warren's
is
got
left
a
on the
list.
sidelines. Our moment when we understand
I mean, I can appreciate
when
it.
it comes to us
I can
to decide the
Get out of here,
future
wrestling.
of this
I-
country. Our moment when
I can
we
appreciate
build
a
the
list of shit
movement
that
to
they
make
didn't
real change.
talk about because
Hope and
there's
courage.
a lot of stuff.
That is how I will make you proud every day as your nominee and as the first woman president of the United States of America.
Poverty. You just made the list.
Made the list. Thank you,
Good
Xander.
debate, but we haven't.
Xander, link your
asked
shit
the
before
major
this is
question.
done.
The major question is, how does it happen in the richest country in the history of the world that half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to get by $9-10 an hour? How does it happen that when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%, 500,000 people are sleeping out on the streets tonight? How does it happen in this great country? We are the only major nation not to guarantee health care to all. How does it happen that we have a child care system which is dysfunctional, a criminal justice system which is broken and racist, an immigration system that needs reform? This is the moment when we have got to think big, not small. This is the moment where we have got to have the courage to take on the 1%, take on the greed and corruption of the corporate elite, and create an economy and create a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Thank you.
Vice President Biden.
Can we make a Beat Saber level, but of Bernie Sanders hand movements, please?
Yes.
American character is on the
I
ballot.
thought someone did that.
I probably
what
have.
Donald Trump is spewing out.
Him and
the
Trump
hate,
gotta have a fucking
the xenophobia, the racism.
talks more
That's
with their
not who we
hands.
are as a nation. Everyone in this country is entitled to be treated with respect and dignity. Every single solitary person has to have in a position that way, in fact, we treat them with decency. It's about fundamental basic decency. We in the United States of America can put up with, we can overcome 4 years of Donald Trump. But 8 years of Donald Trump will be an absolute disaster and fundamentally change this nation. We have to restore America's soul, as I've said from the moment I announced. It is in jeopardy under this President of the United States. We lead the world when we lead by example, not by our power. We, in fact, have to regain the respect of the world in order to be able to change things. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a position right now, we have to remember who we are. This is the United States of America. There's not a single thing beyond our capacity to do if we do it together.
Except Medicare
Let's
for all.
go do
Every
it.
single person has said a word weird in their closing
Thank
statement.
you very,
So,
very
like,
much.
all right.
That concludes the first Democratic presidential debate of 2020. The Iowa caucuses are only 20 days away.
He's like, that concludes the first. I'm like, first what? First. This is like the 40th, whatever the fuck. Okay, I'm done. I've muted my shit. We're on a black screen with us now. You know, that was fine. I'm not that drunk.
Same. I'm very happy that they really didn't let them go after each other. As much as it can be fun, that's not.
I think what
I'm looking for
is not the word I would use. It's more that they chose and not to. There were like maybe 2 baity questions. But in general,
okay, there were a lot of very baity sub questions. The whole paying for shit was a pretty bad rabbit hole they went down.
How do we pay
because
for it?
It failed to acknowledge arithmetic.
Oh, I mean, the how do we pay for it argument is always hilarious to me because, like, we are willing to run an insane deficit for so many things and still cut taxes for specifically very rich people. But as soon as it comes down to helping poor people, suddenly we're out of money. Suddenly we can't. A deficit is unacceptable. Like it's just so blatantly like, look, I, a person with all the stuff I'll ever need to live, have decided you have enough money, poor people. Figure your shit out on your own. See ya. Peace. It just
So let's look
happens
at it this
over
way.
and over and over again.
Plenty of some of the greatest minds in research and development in human history come from poverty and poor beginnings. And if you're not supporting those lower classes and people without means, then you are accidentally erasing the next potential genius. I would like some genius to come up and solve my genetic bullshit and other people's genetic bullshit. So let's that's the selfish argument. It is stupid to not try and maximize our species ideas.
There's many angles you can approach this from, and that is definitely a valid one. If suddenly everybody everybody born in the U.S. and hopefully eventually born in the world is allowed to realize their full potential, we'll get a lot farther than this current program of, Oh, your parents were rich? Cool. We get to find out your potential, but sorry, your parents were poor. You better fucking roll the dice and hope you're one of the 1 in a million people who gets out of your poverty.
And on the flip side, in doing that, that completely acknowledges that there will be a non-insignificant portion of the population that doesn't want that, and they just want to live their own best life. And I am
Also
okay with
fine.
that.
Also totally
is
valid.
fun.
Not to mention
Live
the
and
people
let
who
live. You only
physically
get one life, and how you want to spend it is up to you if it ain't fucking over others.
Yeah. Not to mention the people who physically cannot do jobs that we currently like consider valuable. Like, we don't value all work. We value very specific types of work at the moment. And
we don't even value the specific types of work that have the
not nearly
longest
highly
term payoffs.
Definitely no.
Like, education is the best bet and longest term payoff for all of these things.
If you look at it if you look at like a stone cold capitalist, it's that's a worthwhile investment to create better products in the future if you educate it. You can look at it that way. You can look at it holistically. There's very few sensical ways to look at it that don't end with, hey, maybe we shouldn't just fuck people over just because they happen to be born into a shitty situation. We're in philosophy.
Even then, let's say you're not born into a shitty situation. You're born into a modestly good one, but with a little bit of extra help, you could reach a level you otherwise wouldn't have.
Oh, definitely.
Great.
Even if you look at the very modest help I've received just in, like, I don't know, you could say the student loan program existing is technically a form of help, and the like low in huge air quotes, low interest rates that the government provides you for your student loans for, I would never have been able to go to college without it. My parents couldn't afford to pay for it outright. So technically I have received government assistance just to go to my level of education with my $80,000 of debt. That's still technically government subsidized just a tiny bit. Not to mention the 12 years of free education I received from the state that we all receive from the state for free.
Just imagine, though, it could be so much better.
Oh, absolutely. If we actually started caring about stuff instead of treating it like this begrudging thing we have to pay for. These fucking poor kids, we gotta send them to school for at least a few years. Like, actually give a shit. Like, invest in it. Make it a priority. Wow, the changes that could happen.
I joke about it. I jokingly say gay space communism often, and it's ultimately not a joke. Like, the communism part, all right, fine. Like, do I actually really believe in that? I don't know. But the idea of that we could be genuinely in a post-scarcity world and that we don't do it bothers me.
Oh yeah, we could live in a post-scarcity. We are currently in a post-scarcity world. I mean, if you look at it from various angles, like there are more
literally what's available. Yeah.
Yeah.
Energy,
by what we have right now
education,
with today's
housing,
technology.
land, food.
With today's technology and no crazy Star Trek miracles, there are more, at least even if you limit it to just the US, and this kind of counts worldwide actually, there are far more empty houses than homeless people. There is far more food than there's enough food to feed the entire world's population twice over that we make now. Let alone if we use that shit and help people realize the potential who could maximize our resource value even more. Like, we could be creating 10 times too much food. We could be creating twice the energy we need to power the entire planet if we just cooperation yields better results than competition, society-wide speaking. If you're looking for who can run the fastest, yeah, competition does help there. But the competition, that's a different kind of competition. That's not, you don't go around as a distance runner and kill all of your competitors, which is what happens in the business world.
There is such a thing as non-zero-sum competition.
Oh, absolutely. Like the Olympics, the goal to become the best runner, you don't go buy all the other runners. You work together with who has the best technique. Okay, we're going to use this. We're going to train her to this, but that's all collaboratively produced anyway. It's like the speed running community. There's not a single speedrunner who came up with all of the strats they use by themselves. No, they collaboratively work together, and now you can beat fucking Ocarina of Time in 11 minutes. Like, we can do in a capitalist environment where you copyright all of your speed techniques, that fucking would never happen. Like, so why can't we?
So, like, here's how you know wealth hoarding is starting to dawn on the crazy rich as not being okay. You have a fucking surviving Koch brother who's now pumping shit tons of money into Alzheimer's and elderly brain research because they realize it doesn't matter how much money you have, that shit's gonna kill you. Kill you in the worst imaginable way possible.
And this is not the remaining, like, main Coke bro, I'm assuming.
All right, that was kind of like the last thing I wanted to say. You got anything else?
Oh, I'm only turning off my lights because Moore is in the other room, being mad at me for being awake.
I guess, like, before we sign off, you want to do a couple of, like, solicit the chat for topics or questions, or you just want to be done?
Oh, okay, guys. Lightning round. I got a hard cut off in another 11 minutes, but please, I will now stare at the chat and acknowledge all of the messages. Oh, is more in the chat telling me? No, not yet. Good. So, Straight Tail says, abolish copyright laws for anything other than art 2020? Yeah, absolutely. Or we really could just say abolish copyright laws for anything other than the creator of art, and that would fix a bunch of problems really quick right there.
Yes. Yes.
Draggor Show says paws. Yeah, that's good. Oh, you're 3D modeling paws right now? Good. Make them nice and soft looking, and we'll be fine.
Was anyone vote swayed by tonight's debate? I continue to personally be impressed by Steyer, but it's with the overall caution of being a billionaire is immoral. I'm glad he seems to have turned it around, but there's still always going to be that thing in the back of the head of, why couldn't he have figured that out sooner?
Yeah, I mean, of the two of us, it is very unlikely that either of our votes were swayed tonight, but I am interested in what the chat thinks.
Yeah.
as we talked over everything, has anyone changed their minds? I mean, most people here are going to be a bit lefter than your average American if you got here through.
I saw a never Joe Biden comment in there, and let me be perfectly clear. I do not want Joe Biden to get the nomination at all, and if he gets it, I will essentially drop any overly aggressive anti-Biden stuff. If people want to raise issues, I will acknowledge them because I won't ignore them, but Biden's better than any Republican nominee unless that party suddenly puts up their version of a Biden.
We're going to put up Susan Collins. Susan Collins. Oh, what was it? It was John Oliver's show. It's like time for our favorite segment of Hope Susan Collins switches and be disappointed when she doesn't. She's always
hey Iggy.
She's the only Republican senator who ever even considers like not voting along party lines, because she's in Maine, and Maine's a pretty like evenly distributed purple state.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know.
Maine's a fun. Yeah, Susan Collins. She's always like, maybe Susan Collins will vote the right way, and then she's like, nah, sorry, voting with Republicans. And you're like, fuck. Every like 100 votes, she'll do a little flip.
Please explain Jade Vag Egg Paltrow.
Jade Vajeg?
Oh, she does that weird, goofy, like holistic horse shit and shoves a stone jade thing up the cooter.
Does she? I mean, by all means, put whatever you want in your vagina.
Yeah, but she's got a show on Netflix, I think, right now that's basically spreading lies and misinformation. It's probably going to get people killed and hurt.
Yeah,
because it's, your not
vagina
science.
Egg is not better than like a vaccine or, real medicine.
Do not put rocks in your twat. Thanks, Sue.
Don't do it. Sue knows what's up. Wait.
Wait.
Are we talking about Susan Collins? Susan Collins?
Someone else's vagina?
Are you guys confusing her with Jill Stein?
Maybe.
Okay, hold up. Susan Collins Jade? Is this the same person?
Okay.
Oh no, these are different people. You guys, you guys are.
I think we lost the chat with this.
You guys are thinking of Jill Stein. Jill Stein's the one who's about like the crystals, but she's also not a senator. I don't. Is she? Nah, she's just a candidate. She just runs for shit, but she never wins anything. Gwyneth Paltrow? That's who we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, she's got a show on Netflix. She supports a lot of like holistic horse shit and all that.
Jill Stein. Okay, disclaimer. I'm not claiming that all holistic medicine is bad necessarily. I mean, I'm dating technically an Eastern medicine practitioner in that he does massage, and massage has absolutely provable real effects on people because you're moving
Pepper,
around.
Do you know what you call
shit.
absolutely provable real effects?
Medicine.
Hey, there you go.
I know. It's real medicine. However, if you're like, yo, I got to take this crystal and put it in a certain spot in my house and that will somehow cure something, guys, if it makes you feel good, by all means do it, but do not spend a lot of money doing it. Because
like the placebo effect is real, but
people are happy to sell you nonsense.
Is.
People are very happy to sell you snake oil, so be careful, y'all.
Yeah.
Put the crystal in your butt. Thank you, Secret Shipe.
Don't buy the expensive crystals. Okay, don't put a lead crystal in your butt, please.
Oh, Straight Tail's talking about how every fucking furry is in Omaha, and I'm like, no, it's not that every furry is in Omaha. It's just that the only place in Nebraska where there are any people is Omaha. You gotta go to Huskers Stadium if you're gonna find any humans that live in Nebraska.
Somebody gave me some money back in the day.
Triple Pod, thank you very much for the $5. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you very much to you and Draggor for the stream.
Oh, they said thank you very much to me and Draggor for the stream. It's their first time joining
random, non-Paula question.
Well, thank you to everyone who tuned in and is participating in some way, shape, or form.
I am on book 5 and loving
civic
it.
Process,
also
even
really
if it's to hopefully catch us, make some stupid crack or what have you. Hopefully people are going to still vote. Like, seriously, do it. We all participate in this shit, whether we want to or not. Like, you can't opt out of politics because it's always going to be there looming either overhead or beneath the surface and affect your life. You can't just not do it. If you opt out, you're essentially saying, I'm okay with how it is now. And that hurts a lot of people as it is now. So you're saying you're okay with hurting people.
Yeah.
You might not have made that connection to yourself, but that's kind of where we're coming from.
Even if you feel like it doesn't affect you, please vote. It does affect you. Voting is the only political action you can take that the establishment is not allowed to ignore. Like, you can protest your ass off. They can pretend you didn't. If you vote, your vote does count. And
that's not to say that all votes are equal. There is redistricting. There's gerrymandering.
Your vote is completely fucked.
Stuff.
There's
issues.
What state you live in. Ugh.
But they don't have a monopoly on it. So not yet at least, which is why we got to keep fighting because we still technically have a chance. So let's put some effort into this one.
Yeah. And to answer your other question, Triple Paw, I have not read the Out of Position books. Not because I don't think I wouldn't be interested in them. I can't deal with, I guess, what I call like the gay sad books. I can't deal with books where it's like there's gay people in them, and then they have to go through this whole like everyone hates gay people and they get all beat up. And Out of Position is not like an exploitation book by any means. It's not one that like gets off on how shittily it treats the gay people because it's written by an author who I respect and I like his opinions and I think he's a good author. But I can't get through any more like high school or college romance. At least it's college romance. Like college romance fucking, this person was gay and then they had to deal with like gay I can't.
Okay.
I can't
do
it, man.
Someone's asking about ultimately like privatization and why the right is interested in it. And if I were to ballpark guess, it's because a lot of those folks various people, both in the companies, like they're in power. So to continue to privatize things puts more power in their circle. And by default, if humans get power, not only do they not want to let it go, they want more. Like, we're just kind of wired that way. It's a survival instinct. So, all right, fine. Here, Pepper. Here,
Yes.
let me do my high level horse shit. The answer, the evolutionary answer to tribalism, which is ultimately what a lot of conservative and Republicans double down on, is empathy. And not everyone has been taught or evolved it in such a way to recognize that that's the answer to tribalism. To me, societal evolution is actually understanding, going, oh, we don't need these things that got us to where we are now. Like, you can recognize that conservative approaches are why we're here. You go with what you know, because, you know, before this truly developed language and sharing of ideas, that is how species survive. That is why those things are encoded genetically into things, like why certain species have fight tactics and defense mechanisms. We're no different with our brains. And empathy is the attempt, to me, to try and recognize that thing was good at some point, but perhaps it is not as necessary in its current form and function to where we want to go.
Viewing today's system as the like end, or the end all be all of what any system could be, to me seems like looking at a steam engine and saying, like, okay, we've arrived. This is the best engines could possibly be. Don't even talk about improving it, or you're a heathen. Like, that seems weird to me. Like, yes, we had feudalism. We had whatever was before. What's before feudalism? Well, we had feudalism, and then we had like this weird monarchism thing going on, and then we eventually got to capitalism. And there's something past capitalism, and I think that's socialism at the moment. And once we got socialism going, there might be a better system than that. Even we might, like, things advance. We solve
like
our
that
problems.
We as a people could envision. I keep going back to it. That we could imagine the world that Star Trek and Star Trek Next Gen takes place in means we have the ideas of how it actually could be better. That's not to say like we're just going to get there overnight, but we can imagine. And because we can imagine, that doesn't mean we should ever just accept, well, that's how it is.
I mean, definitely.
I guess the only that's how it is I accept is current physics understanding is heat death of the universe is a thing. So let's make it better for everyone.
Even our understanding of like what is real changes from year to year, from decade to decade, based on like what we discover and figure out. And we just treat sociology as this science that like isn't real. Like, oh, how can we know? It's like we've studied almost every question we have about what happens if we give money to poor people. There's been a fuck ton of studies on how, like, what happens if we put people in better schools. There's been we know what happens if we give universal basic income to everyone. There's been studies, like we've checked most of this shit. We know what happens if you give.
That's what happens.
We know what happens when you give everyone equal access to healthcare, just because it's good, not because they have money, just because it's a thing you should do for the people in your country. We know what happens. You get Sweden, and they're doing fine. Like, can we just copy people who are doing the things we already want to do? We know what'll happen. Look at Denmark. Denmark is what happens when you treat people just a little bit better. Sweden, Norway, that's what happens when you treat people just a little bit, but when you value people's work just a little, when you take just the tiniest bit of money from the ultra rich who run your fucking life, you end up with what seems to us like a near utopia. When you describe, holy shit, if you describe a Nordic country to an American, it's like, yo, if you're sick, you go to the hospital, then they take care of you, and then you leave, and there's no bill. People are like, whoa. It's like, yo, when you get fired, the government just kind of goes like, yo, it's okay, we're going to take care of you while you work towards your next job. People,
or
like,
let's say you got fired for genuine socially disruptive and problematic reasons. They rehabilitate and help you get to the point where you can integrate with society better.
Oh, you committed a crime. What happens? Do you go to jail forever? Like, no, you do some stuff. We give you some classes and try to get you back into society in a productive way. Like, oh, what happens if I'm just fucking have no arms or legs? And like, well, it's fine.
More is yelling at you, Pepper.
All right. Good night, everyone. It's 3 minutes past my bedtime. I'll see you in the near future.
Thank you all. Thank you, Pepper, for hosting. Hi, I'm Draggor.
Check
out Drag It Show and Xander's stuff. And till next time.
By all means, Draggor is a fantastic dude. The @ you see up there is his Twitter. Follow him there. And from there, you'll see all the other creative projects they're involved in. We'll see you guys later. Hopefully, we won't get shut down again.
We succeeded! Yay!
Great. Good night, y'all.
Good night, more.